Good evening and welcome to the Chatham Airport Commission meeting of Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. Meeting is beginning at 5:02 p.m. This is a remote participation broadcast only, and it will be live on Channel 18 if anyone wishes to observe. The call-in number for this meeting is 508-945-4410. And the conference ID, I apologize, I haven't written it down, but it's on the town website. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Section 30A, number 18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Chatham Airport Commission is being conducted via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number I mentioned before, 508-945-4410, with the appropriate conference ID. Or you can join the meeting via Microsoft Teams through the link posted in the agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. I will proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Burke.
Present.
Commissioner Cortese.
Present.
Commissioner Donovan. You're muted, Peter.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Donovan is present. Commissioner Galen. Commissioner Galen, you're muted.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Owens. Commissioner Owens, you may be muted. I know you're out there. Commissioner Owens? Lost him. Commissioner Wilcox?
Present.
And Commissioner Harrison is present. I saw Commissioner Owens. He's online. I see him in the list of attendees. Let's see, I'm going to try to make him an attendee here, see what happens. I can't do that. All right, well, anyway, he'll get in somehow. All right. First of all, I'd like to go through the minutes of December 9th and provide any corrections that may exist. I have a bunch that I found that I will go through. If anyone has any, for the good of the order, let me know. Otherwise, I'll start going through mine. All right. Page 2. Third bullet up from the bottom, last line. The line begins with AC. The word "to" after communication should be changed to "for," and scratch the word "community" and just leave it at "town." And the last bullet on the page at the very end changes to chapters 7 and 9. On page 3, second bullet, third line down, right margin, where it says October report by example should read October report as an example. Further on, 3 more lines down on the right margin where it says, and that you set, should be and that are set. And then continuing to the next line, based on the number of transmissions from your aircraft, scratch the word due for departure and arrival. Continuing in that same paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up from the bottom, bought for all of the Commonwealth smaller airports. And in the next, after the break in the page, going down to the 1, 2, second bullet that starts with Friends of Chatham Airport. Last line, it starts with the word inform. It should read, inform the public about community-sponsored events. Inform the public about. That's an insertion. On page 4, right above the motion, 6 lines up, the line begins with the word comment. 4 words in, the word soul, S-O-U-L, should be replaced with S-O-L-E. On page 5, in the arrowed bullet, starting with GZA Geo Environmental, 3rd line down, should read, a lot of questions with respect to the EA and parcels to be affected by future tree clearing. On page 6, under H2 hangar lease modifications, first bullet, the paragraph begins, Susan Wilcox had a couple of questions. Second line on the right margin, it was because the airplane wasn't in there. And on page 7, very bottom of the page, the line that begins document repository was cumbersome, and we're looking to try to present them in an easier form. Strike the word and, replaced with to. Next page, page 8. Right in the middle of that first bullet, the line begins with the word perception of what's going on at the AC. Chairman Harrison added a comment coming from the joint meeting with the BOS. And BOS should be capital B, capital O, capital S. In the next bullet, beginning with Commissioner Galen, very last sentence, he added that they'd do something similar for other kinds of actions requiring responses. In section E on page 8, the first line, the chairman indicated what was to follow was not an exhaustive list of possibilities or requirements, period. It would be a discussion among the commissioners first. On page 9, a little below the middle of that first paragraph, you see the word February 2020. On the next line down, beginning with the word offered. Offered to have small group meetings that would provide additional opportunities. So the words to have are stricken. Meetings that would provide. Under option 1, third line up from the bottom of option 1, right margin, strike the word commendations, replace with comments. so that it reads recommendations and comments to the AC. In option 2, third line should read significant change. He was uncertain about the possibility of making changes. So doing so is stricken. Page 10 is fine. Page 11. Fourth bullet. Second to the last line, near the right margin, it says when the grant was issued, should be a D there, was issued to the town. And right above the word issued, on to should be 2 words, not 1. And page 12, fifth bullet, second to last line, right margin, it says Vice Chairman Harrison should be Chairman Harrison. And let's see, that's the 5th bullet, 6th, 7th bullet, beginning, the bullet begins with Peter Gersberger. Right about in the middle, the line starts with the word with. He felt that when people cite, should be CITE, what the public involvement must be according to the FAA. Okay, those are the changes I noticed. If anyone has any others, let me know. I know that's exhaustive, but I think it's good that we get this correct. All right. We will proceed to public announcements and agenda item requests. So first of all, public announcements. Does anyone have any public announcements?
Huntley,
Please
we
state your name.
we need a motion to accept minutes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Could someone make that motion, please?
I move that the minutes be accepted as corrected.
Okay,
This
roll
is-
call. Thank
This is
you. Roll call.
Susan Wilcox. I second that.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke,
Accepted.
Commissioner Cortese,
Oops.
Accepted.
thank you. Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes,
Commissioner Owens. Well, he's not with us. All right. Commissioner Wilcox.
Oops. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Harrison, yes. Thank you very much. We'll proceed to public announcements. If anyone has a public announcement.
Commissioner,
Yes.
the chairman, Huntley, this is Terry. I just saw David's video come up. I'm not sure if he's not unmuted.
now?
Okay.
Are you, David, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can't
Okay.
believe you started without me.
All right.
Was he? I guess we need to clarify if he was voting on the.
Yep,
I
I
saw
know.
him come on in the
I'm
vote.
going back to that.
Accept.
David,
Accept
did
the
you hear the minutes? Okay. Do you agree? Do you accept them?
Yes, I accept.
Okay, thank you very much. So
Yep.
that's unanimous. And, all right, public announcements, please raise your hand. Mr. Buckley,
This would be an agenda item request.
I'd like public
appropriate
announcements first. Can you hold on?
Sure.
Public announcements first. Anyone with I have a guest. I don't know who. Oh, okay. I think it's EG, Miss Gibbs.
Yes, it's more of a procedural question. I don't know which category it would fall under.
Well, I guess we got to go ahead and find out.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, I'm not sure where this would fit in, but during the last meeting, I had asked a couple questions and I was told you get the answers back, and I'm not sure where it would fit in. So I would ask that during the different reports, engineers and airport manager, wherever it falls to, the question was how much was left on the Gale contract, because I think you had indicated that you were running out of time and had to speed up the process, but nobody knew how much was left on the contract. And that they were going to look into, Gale was going to find out what the FAA AMPU deadline actually is, when this report has to be in, because nobody had that. And then there was a question about whether or not there was a wait list on that wait list issue of the last meeting. So,
is that for the hangars?
yes, so I would like those included in the reports if information is available, because
We have
an
an answer. We have an answer when we get to the hangar vacancy issue for you. And I think Mr. Karen is online with us tonight. When we get to the engineer's report, he may be able to answer those questions for you.
Okay, and then just one other procedural question, because it was an agenda item that I had in terms of the adopted policy on when the public can speak. I would ask you, this one does not allow any at the beginning of the meeting, and it doesn't allow any until after votes are taken. And I think that the public should be able to weigh in before you approve the drafts of chapters 7 and 9, well, actually on anything, and particularly on how you're going to communicate with us. I think it's putting the cart before the horse by not allowing us to participate in how we're going to communicate down the road. So if you could suspend that until a future agenda item, because I don't think this was adopted by the commission because it was never on the agenda.
And I don't believe we have to, I'm basically following what the Board of Selectmen do. And I don't believe I have to adopt that as a policy.
We had this conversation on December 9th. It didn't get into the minutes, but the Board of Selectmen did not change their policy until after it was agenda item and the public got to weigh in on it. And number two, they allow public comments at the beginning of the meeting and at the end. You don't allow it at the beginning. So there is no opportunity for the public to weigh in ahead of time on anything you're going to discuss.
Right.
And those are facts. So no other commission or committee that does not allow public comment until the end of a meeting after votes are taken. It's just unheard of. So I would hope you would reconsider that.
Well, I tonight, because I've written it in the agenda that it's board discussion only, we're going to have to go with that, and perhaps in future meetings we'll change that.
You know, so Mr. Harrison, I with all due respect, this was asked last time a month ago. And for you to go and deal with really serious issues, by the time you get around to discussing it later, this is going to be put to bed. And I think that's inappropriate, and it's not lost on the people, the 37 people that are sitting here waiting to speak. To make them wait till the end and comment on decisions you have made without their input is just counterintuitive and flies in the face of your willingness to want to talk to the public and engage us. This is not engagement. So that's all I can say. But I think it's absolutely wrong that you would unilaterally adopt a policy that precludes and excludes the public from decisions that you're going to make tonight.
Doesn't either. Duly noted. Thank you. Mr. Buckley, I think you were next. Agenda item.
Yes. This is an agenda item request, an add-on to the clarification of an agenda item request that I made at the last meeting, where I asked that we be able to talk about the environmental assessment that I believe actually is going to be touched on the agenda tonight.
Yes, it will.
But since there is no opportunity to comment on it beforehand, as Ms. Gibb just illustrated, I'm going to ask for it as an agenda item, since that's allowed, and that is that that as part of that agenda item to discuss the environmental assessment.
Don't forget these agenda items are for future meetings, not for tonight.
I know.
Okay.
Someday.
Thank you very much.
Whenever that comes up, what I'm suggesting as part of that is that the last environmental assessment that was done think it was maybe around 2003, be made available during that someday meeting when we'll eventually be able to talk about this, perhaps even at the same time you all are talking about it. And as someone who's done environmental assessments and who has worked for the FAA, I might have something that you don't know about and that the consultant doesn't know about. So that's why what Ms. Gibbs said is appropriate. So anyway, let's see the last environmental assessment so people can see, even before the new one is done, let's see the old one and see what that said from 2003 or whenever that was done.
I'm
Thank
not
you
sure.
very much.
It may be on the website now. I don't know. Mr. Whalen, can you help me there?
That document is not on the website.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if we can get it there, Mr. Buckley.
Thank you very much.
So that was 2005, you think?
3.
Three? Okay. I'm just taking a note. Bear with me. Okay. Looks like Mr. Cortese's next.
Yes, good evening, Chairman. I just wanted to make a quick comment. I believe everything that we are going to discuss this evening has been commented on and deliberated for the last 2 years, and we're incorporating changes due to those public comments.
Thank you. Mr. Fulton?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I'd like an agenda item request
Go ahead.
with regard to the policy of keeping minutes. Is it appropriate to occasionally refer to Renee Haas as former Commissioner Haas, at the same time not referring to Mrs. Lofgren or forgive me, our other former commissioner?
That would be Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, right. By not referring it to him and to her in the same manner, or is that dichotomy a demonstration of bias and disrespect? I'd like that taken up as an agenda item.
All right, it's probably just an oversight on my part, and I'll take that on my shoulders and try not to do that in the future. If that satisfies you, that'll help us speed up our meetings a little bit. So I'll take that on myself.
Well, it certainly satisfies me. I hope it will satisfy the other members of the airport commissioner, all of whom voted to approve tonight's minutes with that dichotomy in place.
I'd like to move the meeting along.
Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Fulton.
You're welcome.
And by the way, once I address you all, would you put your hand down? I'm only going to take you one at a time. I have David as a guest. Nope, that's gone. CEB as a guest. Nope, I'm sorry, that moved. David, who's David? You're muted, whoever you are.
Is that me?
Your
David
hand,
Murphy.
there you go.
Hi, Harrison. There's been a lot of agenda item requests in the last at the last meeting and leading up to the last meeting and afterwards, and yet I see very few of them addressed as agenda items. Wouldn't it be helpful if you posted all of the agenda item requests and online and maybe give some indication of the status of each so these things just don't get lost in time? It seems like this process goes on and on and on, and the relevancy of the agenda item requests just kind of drifts away. So maybe we could post them and keep track of them.
I'll take a note on that. It's basically my decision as chairman as to whether I feel the agenda item requests are pertinent to a given meeting. So that I'll take that on me. But at the same time, I will take under advisement your request, and we will do what we can to post them.
Okay, and while I'm here, I think this is the time for agenda item requests.
Go
Right?
ahead. Yep.
The contract for the airport master plan update with the FAA requires as a condition coordination with the Cape Cod Metropolitan Planning Organization. I haven't seen that anywhere in this process. When will you address that? And maybe you add an agenda item for when you'll address that in your planning process?
Yeah, we might be able to get an answer for you tonight when we get into the engineer's report. He might be able to answer that. Otherwise, if you could send an email with that request, that was a lot.
Sure, I will do that. And then I have another request. Cape Cod Commission is required to review developments of regional impact under the Cape Cod Act. The last master plan was reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission, and while they approved the project, they set conditions. A lot of us are confused. I think we've heard commitments from the commission that there will be opportunity for review of the plan by the Cape Cod Commission. I haven't seen anything. Could somebody explain at some point, add an agenda item or whatever, how this coordination or interaction with Cape Cod Commission and the whole DRI concept, how that's all going to play out, the timing of it and the criteria, and how this time around, how will the airport master plan be reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission?
All right, thank you. Let's see who's next. I have a David. Who is that? You're not muted. Oh, you just went away. Okay. CEB? You're muted, CEB.
Are you sniffly, Bentley?
I don't know who that is. Is that Mrs. Bliss? You're muted. Okay, I'm moving on. Commissioner Wilcox?
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to propose an agenda item if I could, please.
This is for next time?
Excuse me?
This is for next time, right?
Yes, for next time.
Go ahead.
I would like to suggest that the commission next month begin to actively put together a quote unquote citizen advisory board, which involves more inclusive participation of public than has been proposed at last meetings with the options 1 through 3. As stated in the FAA's advisory circular under the master plan study, number 2, quote, public involvement, establishment of a public involvement program, and identify and document the key issues of various stockholders, end quote. We've been having a lot of problems with, last month you asked me to be a liaison between the public and the commission. There's been a lot of question and confusion with adjusting the master plan and not, or when it may be submitted and finalized. Again, so I would like to add a citizen advisory board that is more inclusive of the public. And I would also add that I would like to add that I hope that the commission takes under consideration the public involvement that's given. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. I just have a question.
Is this Mrs. Bliss?
Yes, it is.
Identify yourself. Thank you. Okay.
At the meeting last month, you had said you want us to trust the process. And you asked us to submit questions, and I'd like to have an agenda item that specifically answers those questions. There's been nothing posted on the website answering the questions that I know I submitted, and I assume other people have. So I would like an agenda item where you specifically to rebuild the trust that needs to be built between the citizens and the board, to see that there's follow through on some of the promises that are made at the meetings. That's my agenda item request. Thank you for hearing me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'll take one more. We have to move on.
Could I have a question as to something you said, Elaine Gibbs? You said that you unilaterally decide whether or not agenda requests are going to be honored. Did I understand that correctly? That you just decide yourself?
I look at what's coming in and I see if it's pertinent to the meeting. Yes.
So you don't discuss it with other people, like other commissioners might actually be interested in it? We've just spent 35 minutes.
Well, they know what the agenda requests are.
Moving on.
Yeah, but you said you're not keeping a list because you're not going to share it with us. So we've just spent 35.
I've got a list right here on my pad.
Why wouldn't you compile that list and publish it for us?
That's what Mr. Bixby wanted me to do.
Yeah, the Board of
Selectmen. I told him I'd take it under advisement.
The Board of Selectmen every month has a list of ongoing citizen agenda requests, and as they are done, they cross them off, but we can all see it. Okay. Now, we've just wasted 35 minutes of our time, and you're not even letting us know if you're going to engage in any of it, and we can't go to see, without reading a 9-page minutes that you had tonight, to see what agenda items were requested. It seems like you're doing this to make everything more complicated. If you want to reach out and people take the time to come to you and ask for an agenda item, the least you can do is have the courtesy of having a list that we can see and tell us which ones you're not going to honor. We don't even know. You're not even honoring talking about how you're going to talk to us. You've shut down the debate. I'm sorry. I think you need to talk to Peter Kokolas. He is the board liaison. He will tell you how it works with the Board of Selectmen, and maybe that would be helpful to you.
I'm fine with that. Thank you very much. I got one more here, and that's it. MT. I don't know who MT is.
Yeah, it's Mike Thompson. I guess following up on Mr. Bixby's comment, I would like to repeat Paula Lofgren's agenda request from last month. She asked for, and I would like to have you present your preferred plan. Well, more than that, I would like to know what is your viable, realistic plan which meets the requirements of the FAA advisories and protects the people living in the runway protection zones and protects people driving along Route 28. The AMPU, the airport layout plan, and your 5-year plan are all over the place. They talk about 30-to-1, 20-to-1, and even 40-to-1 glide path surfaces that cannot be implemented because they require 22 or 46 or more easements. They either include vertical guidance or they don't include it. They either include poor visibility operation or they don't include it.
Okay, I understand. I hear you. I hear you.
In one sentence, if you don't have a viable, realistic plan after almost 2 years spending $400,000 with Gale Associates, then I can suggest one. How can you vote on anything or submit anything to anybody without a plan?
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your comments. I've taken notes on the agenda requests.
Excuse me, Holly,
we will try to put those together as best we can.
Excuse me, Huntley, I'd like to just make one other comment. In conjunction with my request for a citizen advisory board, I would like that citizen advisory board to be used in conjunction to reviewing the plans that have so far been submitted and may be submitted to the Airport Commission prior to its finalization with the FAA. Thank you.
Well read.
All right. Thank you very much. We will move on. And those of you who might have put your hands up, I'm sorry, we do have to move on. We'll move on to new business. And I'm reminding you that this is a board discussion only. And those of you who are non-commissioners, please mute your mics, please. If there is time, in the meeting for us to engage you, I will open it up, but right now, I'm trying to keep this meeting moving along. And there will be many times, many opportunities for people to discuss the master plan as we move forward. I do want to start with some opening comments. I don't think you've heard these before, but I do want to say that the development of the airport master plan, as you all know, is a high-level planning document. Creating a plan that encompasses someone's, I don't know who that is who's rustling papers, but it's disturbing. Creating a plan that encompasses the next 20 years is a daunting task, as you all know. There are many working parts that need to be folded into a comprehensive outlook of what the airport needs, landside and airside, whom it serves, pilots, aircraft owners, the flying public, and aviation enthusiasts, and how changes may affect the town, especially our neighbors. The Airport Commission is guided in this task by applicable federal aviation regulations and operates under and is subject to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 90, Sections 51D through 51M. As this process evolves, it is critically important to understand that the Airport Master Plan update is purely a planning document. It is meant to contain present items that need attention and future items that the airport may require. What appears in the document requires approval by a variety of agencies, both federal, state, county, and the town, prior to it becoming part of the airport master plan. The Chatham Airport Commission has been working on this master plan since August of 2017, and during that time, the commission has looked at a large amount of data and aviation activity forecasts to guide us in formulating our decisions. Based on the data and these forecasts, we have examined airport needs and considered alternatives for the short, intermediate, and long term within the planning period, which is 2018 to 2038. All along, keeping in mind our mission. As part of that mission, the Commission is committed to ensure the safety of the airport, the flying public, and the environment surrounding the airport. The Airport Master Plan update is the document that outlines the future of Chatham Airport, and as the current custodians of this airport, it is incumbent upon us to exercise our rights and responsibilities under the law to produce a reasonable plan in order to move forward for the near future. As a planning document, the Airport Master Plan update contains recommendations that we feel are necessary to accomplish this task. We understand that the document is dynamic and can change in the future depending on available funding or changes in any of the current forecasts. However, at this point in time, it is critical that we consider options that provide the most expedient use of funding and provide optimum safety for pilots, the flying public, and our neighbors. During the past 2.5 years, all of the commission meetings have been properly noticed and posted for the public. We have added meetings to consider additional public input. Our discussions have included the scope of work and the process that would drive that plan. I feel that this process has been more than adequate and transparent, and that it has allowed for public input along the way. FAA Advisory Circular 150/5070-6B provides guidance for the preparation of master plans for airports, recognizing that the elements of a master plan will vary in complexity and level of detail, depending on the size, function, issues, and problems of the individual airport. Given that we have done our due diligence with the Airport Master Plan update process, which, and I want to emphasize this next statement, has been supported by both the FAA, New England Region, and Massachusetts Department of Transportation Airports Division. I feel that at this time, the formulation of an advisory group is probably going to be unnecessary. Based on the size of Chatham and the recognized interest by local citizens in airport activities, the Commission made the decision to conduct this process in open meetings to avoid any perception that it was anything less than transparent. All of the Commission's work on the master plan, including presentations by our consultant, Gale Associates, has been done at regularly scheduled commission meetings since the inception of this project, all with the opportunity for the public to provide input. Also, the public has had access to meeting information on the commission's page of the town website and can access the archived recordings of the meetings on the town's channel 18. Thank you. One agenda item change. Item E will be tabled for this meeting. So if you're here interested in item E, we'll be taking that up at a future time. Airport managers report, please.
What's item E?
Yes, Commissioner Harrison, this is Tim. Sorry about that. It's muted. Good evening. I have a very short airport manager's report for you this week because we had quite a bit last time. As you can see there, we've got the guard report attached for the month of December. Also attached to my report this month, there is new guidance from the FAA on the drone and UAV operations and the regulations. The FAA has done some revisions to that. So I attached the main homepage on the FAA's website for those seeking more information, because we do get quite a few questions on drones and what's required. To be quite honest, it changes so fast we can't keep up with it. So the place you should be looking is right here on this website. I will defer to that because we have no more expertise than anyone else on this. It changes so quickly, but there are various rules and operating regulations that have changed that should be noted. That is the only two things on my report for this month. If there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them from the commissioners.
I have one question. We're going to be putting a link on the website that goes to this report, right? For the drones.
I believe that was what you wanted to do with
yes.
On the airport commission site. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll keep up to date with that. The last report that was put up there is something I wrote a couple of years ago when drones were almost brand new to the flying public, and now they've gotten more complicated. So we're gonna remove my old report and replace it with a link to the FAA site, which will explain it in, I'm sure, excruciating detail.
That it does.
Commissioner Wilcox, a question on the manager's report? Commissioner Wilcox, your hand is up. Is this a question on the airport manager's report? Okay, moving on. Do I have a motion to accept the airport manager's report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Roll
I
call.
second.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke?
Accept.
Commissioner Cortese?
Accept.
Commissioner Donovan?
Accept.
Commissioner Galen?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Accept.
Commissioner Wilcox?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And Commissioner Harrison, yes. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. The vote there was 6-0 and 1. Commissioner Burke, the airport revolving fund report, please.
Okay, first one out of the gate, so forgive me if I'm a little all over the place. This is the year-end report. And again, it speaks for itself. There's the negative amounts are there with the waiting funds, federal and state grants. But the sure that they are trickling in, and the expenses match up with the credits. And all of the rents, the lease receipts and the hangar rents are up to date in there. And that's pretty much it.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions on the airport revolving fund report? I can give a quick update.
Huntley, I have my hand raised, please. You asked if any commissioners had a question.
Yes.
Can I pose my question, please? Or pose it to Crest?
I see Commissioner Wilcox, I see your hand. I will recognize you momentarily.
Thank you.
Remember, just for those of you who might be looking at the revolving fund report, remember, this is just through the end of the year. And there have been some things that in the first part of January that came in at the end of the year. And just so you know, that the hangar rentals are up to date. Just want to let you know, everyone's been paid. Okay, Commissioner Wilcox, what's your question, please, with regard to the revolving fund?
Again, Chairman, I apologize for interrupting. I would just request that I be able to sit down or at some point review this with, I don't know if it's Mr. Burke or whomever is in charge of actually downloading the information, because I'm not quite following all the pluses and minuses. So I would like to say that I will offer my help, or I would like to request sitting down with somebody to go over this so that I can fully understand it.
Yeah,
okay?
I might be able to help you with that.
Well, if you can't, then I'd like to have.
We can arrange that offline.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let me just take a note. Okay. Can we get a motion to accept the revolving fund report, please?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All right. Roll call. Commissioner Burke.
Accept.
Commissioner Cortese.
Accept.
Commissioner Donovan.
Accept.
Commissioner Galen.
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Accept.
Commissioner Wilcox. Commissioner Wilcox.
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Commissioner Harrison, yes. Unanimous. All right. We'll now move on to the engineer's report, and that will be presented by Mr. Karen, and the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Need a little more volume.
What about now?
No, that's less.
Huntley, how does that sound to you?
No, you sound like you're far away.
I'm sorry, even still?
Yeah.
What about now?
No, it hasn't changed.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman. Give me 1 second. Let me check my audio.
Okay.
Huntley, what about now, please?
Nope, hasn't changed.
Can you hear me now?
Better. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I see that Terry's got the Gale update up on the screen. The first project that I'd like to talk about, Mr. Chairman, is the environmental assessment. So Gale Associates, we're still working with our sub-consultants to conduct some data collection activities. We have had the archaeological and historical folks out there doing a historical and archaeological reconnaissance for some of the areas that we're proposing for future development. Their survey work was completed the week of December 21st, 2020. We're presently waiting on their archaeological survey report to analyze that and discuss with them further actions that may need to be taken. Due to COVID, there was a little outbreak, I believe, in their office, so that has slowed the process of us getting that report. Blue Skies Geospatial, they did some aerial photography and mapping work for us, and they analyzed the results, and we prepared a plan which shows the obstructions to the approach surfaces, transitional surfaces, and some of the other Part 77 surfaces at the airport. So we will be putting that together in a full plan to present to the commission at a future meeting. We have East-South-East LLC topographical plan of the bike path from George Ryder Road to Wilfred Road. That survey work has been completed. We've uploaded that data analysis to the FAA's 7460 portal, which is their obstruction evaluation and airport airspace analysis. Basically, any proposed construction or alteration which may affect navigable airspace must be filed through that portal. So that is sitting with the FAA as we speak. There's a minimum of 45-day review period for that. So we're just going to wait on those results. And once we have those, we'll be presenting those to the full commission. GZA Geoenvironmental, they're the ones that are helping us on the vegetation management plan. And they're going to be doing their field work for the VMP between January and March. So they'll be out there at the airport. We'll coordinate with Tim to make sure that we can get access to the airfield. They've done work on the airfield in the past, so they're familiar with the operations. And like I said, we'll make sure that we're coordinating that with Tim appropriately. The other thing that we're working on as part of this project is coordinating with FAA New England region and FAA flight procedures to determine if an approach with vertical guidance can be achieved at the airport on less than a 30-to-1 clear approach slope. Just as a reminder, the preferred alternative is to clear the 20-to-1 approach, which is what is required for the existing conditions out there today, and determine whether or not flight procedures might be able to implement an approach on a clear 20-to-1 as opposed to the 30-to-1. And like I said, we're working with FAA flight procedures. That'll strictly be a decision that they make. They'll let us know if it still provides, maintaining an equivalent level of safety at the airport. So we'll be getting that to you guys in the near future. And then lastly, I'll just say all of this information that we pull together, we fully intend on presenting on plans so that we can illustrate what is happening, the preferred alternatives to the Airport Commission and to the public at a future commission meeting. So once all that data comes in, once we have that collected, Mr. Chairman, I will be seeking to put that stuff on a future agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from you or from the commission?
From the commission, any commissioners have a question on the EA? Or at least this part of it? Okay.
Okay.
Item 2.
Item 2, Mr. Chairman, is the airport master plan update. I am prepared this evening.
Wait just a second. Commissioner Wilcox, your hand is up. But you have to unmute yourself.
I would like to request that I have the ability to talk to Gail about some questions I have with regards to this environmental assessment and management plan. I don't quite understand all of it, and I'd like to find or just have clarification so that I'm in sync with what's going on. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's continue. Item 2.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, that's fine. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for Commissioner Wilcox.
Thank you.
Okay, so the airport master plan, we're going to be talking about chapters 7 and chapters 9. There's been some revision based on comments and feedback that were received from the commission and the public during the October 28th, 2019 commission meeting. And Terry, if you don't mind, could you go to chapter 7, please? And that's good for right now. I'll let you know when to go to move on to the next page. So just as a reminder, so we put together the preferred alternatives were decided by the Airport Commission back in the summer of 2019. As a reminder, Chapter 7 basically takes all of those projects and it puts them into 3 different buckets. The first one is short-term projects. The second bucket would be the midterm projects. And then the third bucket would be the long-term projects. Terry, if you could go to 7-2, please, the next page. And so, Mr. Chairman, what I did was I went back and reviewed the meeting minutes from the October 28th, 2019 commission meeting to make sure that we were incorporating the comments that were received from that meeting. And so there's some stuff that's highlighted in this section, and that's the stuff that has changed that I'd like to bring to your attention tonight.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so on 7-2, what you're going to see is for all of these projects where it says estimated project cost, there was a comment that someone wanted to see the shares broken out. So the FAA funds 90% of these projects. There's a 5% state share and then a 5% local share, except in some certain circumstances like 2020, where the FAA is actually funding the environmental assessment at a 100% share. But for all intents and purposes, I highlighted those estimated project costs so you can see the breakout of funding.
And that project has been paid for, correct?
The taxiway project, yeah, taxiway A project has been paid for. What I'd like to do with this particular project is just put a footnote in Chapter 7 that basically says that this was completed in 2020 because it's done and it's no longer needed as a short-term project, but it's in there as a short-term when we drafted this chapter, and I'd like to just put a footnote in there so everyone knows that that was completed and when it was completed.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, 7-3.
Let's see now. I think you mean 7-4-3.
Yeah, 7.4.3 on page 7-3.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
So similarly, Mr. Chairman, with 7.4.3, that was the replacement vehicle that the airport received back in the spring of 2019. I would like to move that. So equipment like SRE equipment, snow removal equipment, vegetation management equipment, things like pickup trucks and vehicles, those have a shelf life of 10 years. So I'd like to move this project to the long term. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be buying another truck in the long term, but at least you have the ability to assess the equipment that the airport has, and should there be a need to replace that truck after its useful life has expired, it's still in there, and that's something that you can explore with the funding agencies.
I have no problem with that, but do any commissioners have any questions about moving that?
Yeah, seems to make sense.
Commissioner Wilcox?
I'll make my comments about this entire plan at the end, but one of the things is going
All I want to know is if you don't mind moving this to the long term.
No, I do not. I approve of that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cortese.
Yes, Commissioner Harrison, Chairman Harrison, I think that's a good idea to move these forward.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners want to weigh in on that? Otherwise, we'll just, I don't think we have to vote on it. Well, let's take a vote on it anyway. So roll call vote. Someone make a motion to move. So move. 7.4.3, acquire replacement vehicle for 2000 pickup truck and plow to long term. Move.
I second the movement.
You have a second? Okay, thank you. Roll call. Commissioner Burke?
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese?
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan?
Yes.
Commissioner Shailen?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox? Commissioner Wilcox?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And Commissioner Harrison, yes. Let me just take a note. 7.4.3, long term. Thank you very much. All right. Okay.
Huntley, can you hear me?
Continue.
Can you hear me okay, Huntley?
Yeah, there's a little background noise, but I don't know if that's you or someone else.
I don't believe it's me. I have headphones in now.
No, the background noise is now stopped.
Okay, perfect. So, Mr. Chairman, 7.4.4. This is the establish a non-precision straight-in approach with vertical guidance to runway 624. So what I've added in here is a couple additional pieces of language. The first one is to review the existing airport approach protection bylaws to determine applicability and potentially reduce or minimize the need for aviation easements. That's number one. Number two, where the commission has committed to not clear the 30-1, but pursue a less than 30-1 with the FAA, I've put in here the language that spells out that we will coordinate with FAA flight procedures and examine whether a procedure could be developed on a less than 30-1 slope to reduce the number of parcels requiring aviation easements and/or tree clearing while maintaining an equivalent level of safety.
Okay.
The next page.
No, not yet. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Any questions from the commissioners on 7.4.4?
A quick one.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, maybe not. Matt, the estimated price on this is $5 million as written, correct?
Let's see here.
Project cost?
It's 260,000.
No, I'm talking about the overall price, the overall
Yeah,
cost.
yes.
Now, if we end up with less mitigation, less vegetation mitigation, et cetera, fewer easements, that cost would probably go down, correct?
Yes, absolutely it would.
So this is a worst case scenario on the cost estimate.
It is. And so I think the big takeaway here is that before any of these projects are implemented, right now we're just broad brush overview of some of these projects that may come online. Each year when we revisit the actual project needs with the FAA and Mass DOT, and we start getting into a scope of work, that's where we flesh out the actual cost estimates for these type of projects. Right now, like I said, it's a broad brush. It's a guesstimate at this point in time in 2021.
Okay, thanks for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Wilcox, you have your hand up?
Yes, please. In conjunction with the coordination with FAA flight procedures, et cetera, 30-1 slope. Again, that was going to be a question that I wanted to check with Gail on with regards to the environmental assessment management. The second to last bullet in that says they're working with the FAA to determine if. Well, then my contention is if they're working with the FAA to determine, then this thing should not be completed or submitted yet because as stated in 7.44, they're working. So until they determine, the last or second to last paragraph in the management plan for environmental is not correct. So I would request that not be submitted.
Mr. Chairman, can I just explain what's actually going on with that there? So if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so since this is one of the short-term projects and the only way we can evaluate this environmentally or determine as to whether or not it's something that would be applicable to the airport, it needs to be vetted through the EA now as we speak, and we need to coordinate with FAA flight procedures to determine whether or not something on less than a 31 is even, applicable or something that they would even allow at Chatham Airport. It's very likely we could get through this process with the FAA flight procedures through the EA, and it could be something that, because of terrain or other environmental constraints, something that they would not allow, and therefore, the whole 30-1 conversation is kind of a moot point. So in order for us to fully advise the commission on what its options are, that this process needs to take place, and we need to have that vetted now.
Okay, well, then can something about this be put into a long, instead of a short term, possibly a midterm with a change to a short term once this has been coordinated?
The actual establishment of a vertically guided approach would take probably a couple years to implement. So the actual implementation of it is, but vetting the process and determining whether or not it's something that's even feasible at the airport it's a short-term project.
Well, again, then if I'm questioning the project funding because there's a question under that stating that they're trying to determine a 30-1 versus a 20-1. I'm asking that there be some reconsideration on this. This is just, I haven't, that's what I would.
Commissioner Wilcox, if I may, we can't make decisions on that until the FAA and weighs in on it. And the only way they're going to be able to weigh in on it is if we provide the information to them of the environmental assessment. And that's the only way they're going to be able to weigh in and find out whether what we can do or can't do. So delaying it is not an option.
Okay, that's fine. I appreciate. I appreciate that. I will hold my comments to the
Thank-
end when I report on what I've gained, information I've gained from the FAA. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Cortese, you had a hand up?
Yes, Chairman Harrison, thank you. And this is a question for Matt. Matt, what's a question and a comment and more of a clarification. And it piggybacks on what Ms. Wilcox just mentioned and also an agenda item that Mr. Thompson asked for. And that the more of the clarification again, this is the AMPU is just a planning document. And we've discussed this now for 2 years. It's usually the planning document. The way you do is you make the planning document and then which goes quickly, and then you explore each part of it along the way. And as I've been doing research into this for the last couple of years, I've realized we've made actually a lot of headway, and especially on these approaches. And it's sort of non-standard in the way that this has happened as far as the FAA engaging and doing this ahead of time before this is approved. So the clarification part of this is I just want to make sure that we're just approving the AMPU so that we can then explore all the options, because we really can't, even though we've made good significant progress on these already.
Yeah, and that's correct. So the EA is dovetailing with the airport master plan update and the preferred alternatives in the airport layout plan. And so, yes, we have FAA, we're working with FAA flight procedures in advance. We're not asking them to publish an approach for the airport right now, a vertically guided approach. What we're asking them is it feasible to implement an LPV approach at the airport on a less than 30-to-1 cleared surface? And then once we have that, there very well could be that you can do it, in which case we'd come back to the commission and we'd provide you with the guidance that we've received from FAA flight procedures and whatever other mitigation measures that they may require as part of that approach, if that makes sense.
Perfect. No, it makes perfect sense. And I think for every aspect of the master plan, we have to, once we get through this, then we're not making decisions now. We're just putting on sort of a guideline of what we're going to work on. And then we have to get to the real work on this moving forward. And then so all the other parties will engage fully once we get this through to see if it's even feasible.
That is correct, including securing FAA, state and local funding as well.
Perfect. So so we really can't until we approve this and hear back from the FAA. Just to make sure that I'm clear on this before we move forward. It's a moot point on just about everything, but on that case, we've made a lot of headway given the last 2 years of discussion that we've had and the changes that have been implemented. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. What I'm trying to do is give you the options that you have available to you so that you can make a decision on whether or not it makes sense to move forward with a particular approach over another approach.
Perfect. And that goes for everything in basically Chapter 7 here that we're working on. Well.
Correct. More or less, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it. Sorry for the long-windedness there.
No problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Cortese. Mrs. Wilcox, Commissioner Wilcox.
I would like to just interject and beg to differ that there's some misinterpretation with regards to the completion of the master plan, and I will address that later. Prior to these Chapter 7 and 9 being approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Because this has changes, let's have a roll call. Could someone make a motion to accept 7.4.4?
I make a motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
I second.
Okay.
Two mics.
All right. All right. Roll call. Commissioner Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese.
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan.
Yes.
Commissioner Galen.
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox.
No.
Commissioner Harrison. Yes. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. 7.4.5. 5, no.
Point
The next-
seven.
Yeah, 7.4.6, I think had a change.
Let's see.
Or is that one actually a moot point at this point?
Let's see. I think you might have gone a little too far.
Skip
Terry.
5.
Yep.
Point-
7.7 point, hold on one second.
4.5.
7.4.7 is the next one that I was looking to speak to.
Oh, what about 7.4.6? There's the,
7.4.6, all that is, Mr. Chairman, is just highlighting the funding split between FAA, state, and local.
okay, thank you. Okay, 7.4.7.
Okay, this is the reconstruct perimeter fencing. It was requested by someone in the public that that this be a priority because it does represent somewhat of a safety concern at the airport in terms of intrusion by either unwanted individuals or even wildlife for that matter. And the recommendation from the commission at that time was that it was a good point. So I've moved that up from the midterm and into the short term.
Okay, all right. Let's take let's get some comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Wilcox.
Again, which one are we discussing? I'm sorry.
4.7.
4.7.
Do you have a question?
Well, we skipped 4.5, but
There was no change.
wait a minute.
There was no change in 4.5.
Okay.
And 4.6 was just highlighting the local share and the cost.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No change in that one.
Thank you.
7.4.7, apparently there's a change, and Mr. Karen just went through it. And so
Okay.
I'm asking for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. And I have a comment too on that, Commissioner Harrison.
Yes, go right ahead.
That's an important, it's an important safety term factor. It's an important safety benefit, as Matt had mentioned. As being a pilot on the airport, I've seen wildlife within the fence fenced area of the airport, which is especially important when you're for night operations.
Okay. Thank you. I would tend to agree with that, having learned how to fly in a country airport where deer would be on the runway at night. So I certainly can empathize with that and know full well the safety of a perimeter fence. Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Commissioner Burke?
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese?
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan?
Yes.
Commissioner Galen?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox? Commissioner Wilcox?
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison, yes. Okay, moving on. Midterm,
Yep, 7.5.1, please. Okay, Mr. Chairman, what I added in here, I know there was some discussion as to safety of any construction of fuel facilities. So I did add in a sentence that states this project will have to comply with the EPA spill prevention, control, and countermeasurements requirements in place at the time the project is proposed for construction. So at this point in time, I'm not sure what those may look like, but in the future, when something like this is implemented, this project would need to follow those EPA guidelines.
right. Okay. That's the only change. Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Wilcox?
Yes, I bumbled it, but I'm concerned about the.
Commissioner Wilcox?
I'm sorry.
Your
Is
hands
that
up.
a short, long?
This is intermediate. All right. Roll call. I need a motion, please, on 7.5.1.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we got, I think Mr. Burke made the motion. And I think was it Mr. Galen or Mr. Cortese?
I think it was both.
Okay.
Mike.
I will just put Mike down. All right, good. Okay, roll call again. Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I need your vote.
I wanted to ask a question, and I'm sorry, I'm not good with this. Is this procedure a short, a medium, or long-term, please? I would just like to have that question answered.
Yes, this is intermediate.
Okay,
And
thank you.
we're in the middle of the vote.
Thank you. I'll hold off on my vote, thank you.
So is that an abstain?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wilcox, could you please try to stay with us a little better? Moving on. 7.5.2, unless that's just a highlight.
That's just a highlight, Mr. Chairman.
7.5.3
Same thing.
and 7.5.4.
Okay, this is just to differentiate between eligibility of taxi lanes for either airport commission-owned hangars or privately owned hangars. I can read this sentence, which states, as hangar row H2 will come under the airport commission ownership, by the time this project is initiated, it will be considered eligible for AIP funding assistance, and therefore the taxi lane serving it will also be eligible. However, because the H3 hangar row is privately owned, it is considered ineligible for AIP funding assistance, and therefore the taxi lane serving it is also ineligible. Airport and/or hangar owners will be responsible for securing funding other than AIP funding for the H3 taxi lane reconstruction project.
All right. Commissioner Cortese, you have your hand up.
You just had a question on that. Thank you, Chairman Hunley. Sorry, Chairman Harrison. Are those, considering this is a 20-year document, I believe the H3 taxi lane is going to be up in 8 or 9 years and come to the commission, potentially. Is that something that you can put on there and that can be addressed later, or is it the repaving?
Yeah, Commissioner Cortese. So it's a good question. And, fortunately, like I stated at the beginning, each of these projects, when they do come online, they're revisited with the funding agencies. So if there has been a change in ownership, or if there's been a change, some other, change to the hangars themselves, that stuff is considered, and it's quite possible that they could be funded through, FAA and state funds as well.
Okay, all right. So it's not right now because it's privately owned, but later on.
Correct.
My concern is just to make sure that we keep the taxiways and the airport in top condition as we, the taxiway reconstruction has been a nice change. And we have a very nice airport thanks to the great work of the town, the commission, Gail, and the FAA, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Long-term improvements, 7.6.1. Is that just a highlight for, oh, wait, I'm sorry, I moved too fast. 7.5.4. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
I have a question, Huntley.
Yes.
I'm just, now I forgot what my question was.
Okay, we're going to move on. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait a minute. I know what it is. This states, excuse me, Huntley. This states an estimated project cost. In all of the above clauses, it has it's divided into, this is the possible or estimated FAA share, et cetera, et cetera. Why does not have that breakdown under this?
That is because the H3 hangars would be funded privately. Right now, they're not eligible for FAA or state funding.
It's right
Okay.
it's in the highlighted text.
I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've had a motion, we've had a second. I think we had a second. I know I had the motion. Did anyone second that? Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Abstain.
abstain. Commissioner Harrison, yes. Okay, moving on. That was 7. We're moving on to long-term improvements, 7.6.1.
That's just a highlight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. 7.6.2.
Similarly to the Jet A fuel facility, I added in that sentence that this project as well would need to comply with the EPA spill prevention, control, and countermeasurement requirements that are in place at the time this project is proposed for rehabilitation and/or construction.
Okay. Do I have a motion for any questions on 7.6.2? Can I get a motion then to accept the changes?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank
Kind of
you.
heard a second. Yep.
Yep. And roll call, Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes.
and Commissioner Harrison, yes. Okay, so that's 700. Okay, moving on. 7.6.3, is that just a highlight?
That's just a highlight, Mr. Chairman, and I believe that wraps up all of the changes for Chapter 7. And I am looking for a motion or an approval this evening from the commission to approve Chapter 7 as written, Mr. Chairman, if that's appropriate.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I would like to take these separately. The chapters, I mean. Can someone make a motion to accept Chapter 7 with the
Excuse me,
changes
Huntley?
as noted?
I make a motion to accept Chapter 7 as noted.
Second.
Do I have a second? Is there any discussion?
Huntley, I would like to make a motion before this is accepted, please.
There's a motion on the floor.
Am I making my motion now?
No, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
We can defeat the motion and then you can make yours. Or I can request that we table this motion.
I request that you table this motion.
I'll take a roll call. There's a roll call vote on whether or not we should table this motion. The motion's been made and seconded. Commissioner Burke,
No.
Commissioner Cortese,
Nope.
Commissioner Donovan,
No.
Commissioner Galen,
No.
Commissioner Owens,
No.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison, no. So we have a motion on the floor to accept Chapter 7 with the changes as noted this evening. It's been made and seconded. Roll call, Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
and Commissioner Harrison, yes. Okay, moving on to Chapter 9. Mr. Karen,
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a statement, please.
go right ahead.
This is in conjunction to this particular chapter. Within this chapter, there's well over $1 million being requested by the Airport Commission for all these plans without getting any input from the town or the Board of Selectmen. Now, I know that once these grants are requested, it gets posted we go to the Board of Selectmen to see if they approve the funding. However, I believe that there are some chapters in here, number one, that haven't been reviewed, and number two, that I believe that the town and/or Board of Selectmen should review before this chapter is accepted. Because again, that is taxpayer money of well over $1 million that is in this particular chapter. So that's why I do not agree with this thing being accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. I will note that, but at the same time, remember, any capital project, the local share has to go before town meeting.
I know it has to go before town meeting, but you're processing this and accepting it now, and then it will go, so it's going to be piecemeal. I'm suggesting that the Board of Selectmen review these before the chapter is accepted, period.
Been accepted.
The chapter's been accepted.
See you, bye.
Then I would like to request that the Board of Selectmen review this before you accept this.
It's already accepted.
It's already been accepted. I'm sorry.
That's because you accepted it without me asking any questions prior to the exception. You just let me put through an motion. Again, Huntley, I don't want to argue about this. I don't think the processes that you're doing are appropriate. You're asking for $1 million without getting approval. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and we can agree to disagree on this.
Greatly.
Commissioner Cortese.
Yes, Huntley, Chairman Harrison, just wanted to reiterate and just make sure we all are on the same page that it was a 6-1 vote and that we had discussed this in this meeting and that we have discussed this for 2 years. I'm failing to see where there could be lack of clarity on this.
Right.
I would like to make a comment, sir. You were not on the board, so were not in part discussing this. So you stating that is not appropriate because you were not a commissioner at that point. And also there were more than myself, the gentleman that just spoke, as well as Commissioner Burke were not part of the commission when these were processed. I would also like to explain or express my disconcern that a lot of these processes were processed during the COVID period where, Huntley, don't shake your head.
No, I'm telling you, nothing. This was all done in July of, in October of 2019. We did not do anything. There was no deliberation during the COVID period. So please don't put that.
You processed it through July of 19, but there was no previous discussion of this during the COVID. So that's a mistake and that's a misconception, period. You're incorrect, Huntley. Thank you.
Commissioner Burke, you have a question or comment?
Just a comment, insofar as my name was used here. I support 100% the actions taken by the commission. I've followed it for the last 2 years. You do your homework, you follow this stuff, and you're not so confused about certain things. But, you know, I have no problems with it. The process couldn't be more fair. It's just, I think it's a misunderstanding of what the process is, but that doesn't mean the process is unfair and valid.
Then my question to you, Mr. Commissioner,
wait a minute. Wait,
I want to know who voted.
Wilcox, you do not have the floor at the moment. Commissioner Cortese.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Commissioner Harrison. I just wanted to clear my name as well. I've been a pilot for over 20 years and have flown in and out of Chatham Airport since 2001 and have been following the issues in the town for close to 18 years. I've been following the airport and the airport commission in depth outside, not being a commission member, but also participating in meetings and making statements for at least 10 years. I have, my family has been in town and so have I for close to 43 years. So I think this process is very fair. I think we've actually had some very nice positive positive things come out of the deliberation that we've had for 2 years that are going to help us move forward with a lot of these projects and keep this airport in the fine shape that it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Galen.
All of the projects within Chapter 7 were actually part of earlier chapters and discussed at a minimum of 2 different meetings. That means they were thoroughly discussed then and voted upon and approved as part of those chapters. This is just a review of those projects and the order in which it's perceived they might be undertaken, short, long, or medium term. Nothing new was presented here, with the exception of some minor corrections where Matt might have found some legal or other reasons to add some material. So there's really nothing major new added to these projects. These are things that were thoroughly discussed, thoroughly gone over, including the dollar figures that were presented tonight. The dollar figures themselves, in most cases, were not new. Matt just highlighted them for our edification and reminder. So to say that these are new, to say they haven't been discussed, is not quite correct.
Mr. Galen,
Thank
I would
you.
like to respond to that, please.
Mrs. Wilcox, I'll recognize you when the time comes. Terry Whalen.
Yeah, if I can, and maybe through the chair, maybe it's helpful to it seems like there's a misunderstanding that approving this chapter is a commitment to the numbers that are in there. These are just estimates, and it does not represent an immediate financial commitment. It's a tool for planning purposes, and maybe Matt could expand upon that a little further if you would entertain that.
Mr. Karen, would you like to respond?
Yeah, no, Huntley, I mean, I think that Commissioner Galen hit the nail on the head, and Terry Whalen certainly did too. They're just cost estimates for what would be preferred alternatives if the airport and the funding agencies had, all the funding available in the world. But you're not asking for the town to commit funding to any of these projects at this point in time. The FAA will be the first to tell you that just because these projects make their way into the airport master plan and then subsequently onto the airport layout plan, they themselves are not committed to funding those projects. It needs to go through a whole host of certain review procedures, the environmental assessment being one of them, and then certainly further discussions at CIP meetings to make sure that the projects you're looking to implement are actually justified, that there's a need for them, and that there's funding availability for them. So this chapter certainly does anything except for commit the town or the funding agencies to funding these projects.
And another comment on this, I think, is that these things feed into the annual CIP.
Yes, they do.
The Capital Improvement Project Plan.
That is correct.
Right. Commissioner Wilcox, your hand is up again.
A comment. Commissioner Galen just stated that these numbers have been present and reviewed previously. I would suggest that Mr. Karen said that all of these highlighted items are new to this report. So in fact, if they are new, then they were not previously reviewed. That's number one. Number two, the fact that Matt just stated that this stuff is pending approval of the environmental program indicates that they should not be accepted at this point because the environmental assessment has not been completed. So there may or may not be adjustments. And that's why I requested that you not submit these for approval.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted.
Noted is not.
Commissioner Burke, you had your hand up for another comment, or is that from before?
That was from before. Thank you, Huntley.
Okay. All right, thank you all. We'll move on to Chapter 9. And what page do we reference?
So, Mr. Chairman, I just real quickly, if you don't mind, we can stay right here, and I'll just give a brief overview of and a reminder as to what Chapter 9 is, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So the purpose of this chapter, it was to provide and highlight pertinent FAA documents to help the Airport Commission better understand the resources that are available to them, including FAA guidance and requirements as it relates to becoming self-sufficient as possible. These resources are certainly intended to be used by the Commission and future commissioners in understanding their responsibilities towards this endeavor. The scope of work, as you may recall, it called for a few certain things. And number one, it was providing a brief written description of the businesses that are utilizing the airport and how they use it, discussing ways in which the airport can convey the value of the airport to the town, the state, and the region, providing an outline of FAA's policy regarding airport rates and charges, providing an outline of FAA's policy and procedures concerning the use of airport revenues, and providing an outline of FAA's procedures related to hosting non-aeronautical events and leasing of non-aeronautical uses at the airport, providing an outline of FAA's policy on the non-aeronautical use of airport hangars, and then providing an overview of the airport's recent revenues and expenditures. And we assume that we could get that information for the past 5 years, which Terry Whalen was extremely helpful in helping us pull that together. And I'll show you where that is in a few minutes when we get there. Let's see here. So like I said, Mr. Chairman, there wasn't a whole lot of changes that were germane to Chapter 9. There was certainly a lot of discussion. There were things that were unrelated to Chapter 9 that were discussed back in October of 2019 when we had this meeting. But the first comment that you see here was someone had asked that we put in that the airport, let's see here, that the Cape Cod Flying Circus is responsible for the day-to-day management and custody of the airport.
Yep.
So I went ahead and put that in.
Okay.
And then truly the next comments were on page 9-8.
Okay.
Which is under section 9.3.1.1, which is expenses. And this is where we were asked to put in an overview of the airport's revenues and expenditures. We were using the past 5 years, which were 2014 through 18. And that can be found on table 9-3, which is the next page after this here. And that has all of the financial data for the airport revenues and expenditures from 2014 through 2018. It'd probably be a good idea to keep that up to date, as that will become obsolete pretty quickly. As you can imagine, we're now in 2021 and it only goes from 14 to 18. So that's just something for the commission to keep in mind. Under 9.4, potential future revenue sources. So one of the areas that we had talked about was the NDB area. And with Mass DOT looking to decommission that at some point in the future, that opens up that area for some possible non-aeronautical use or potential future aeronautical use. At this point in time, it's unclear as to what exactly the Airport Commission might want to use that land for. But that's another area that you could tap into to include something like a solar farm or another option, something along those lines, to collect additional revenues for the airport.
Okay. And I don't think there's anything else. Oh, wait, page 911.
Yeah, I just had one last thing on there, and it was a good comment. Someone in the public, in terms of conveying the value of the airport. I know that there's a lot of different boards and committees and commissions within the town of Chatham, including the Chatham 365 task force. So I put a note in there, identifying common goals and making recommendations, opening up communication with those boards and those other commissions and stuff, just to make sure that you're all on the same page and seeing how you may be able to dovetail off one another's efforts.
Okay. All right. If it's all right with the rest of the commissioners, I'd like to take Chapter 9 as a whole. There were minor items here, and I think they were explained very well. If anyone has an objection to that, let me know before I ask for a motion. Commissioner Wilcox.
You said you were going to hold on it, or you're going to ask for a motion to approval, Mr. Hunley?
I'm going to ask for a motion to approve Chapter 9 as a whole unit.
As a whole unit. Okay, I can go through a lot of questions that I have with regards to this.
I'm sorry.
Would you
have
like me to would you like me to start?
You
We're
have
discussing it, Huntley. Would you like me to start?
You're not letting me speak. Did you say you had questions on chapter 9?
Yes.
Okay, give a specific reference so we know where you're talking about.
On page 9.2. There's a indication that the payroll, where were those numbers taken from? And that the output was 12.5 million. How was this achieved?
Do you see where it says source underneath it?
And that isn't in conjunction to our airport? This is a source?
Yes. Okay, next.
Well, I don't know how $4 million was used in payroll. What was the payroll for?
That includes everything that is involved in the airport. And you'd have to get the definitive answer on that, you're going to have to go to MassDOT. They put out this report, I think it's yearly or every couple of years, on economic impact. And they do it statewide for all the airports.
Huntley, the town is not, excuse me, Huntley, the town has not put paid, which indicates payroll of $4.5 million.
You're right, the town has not. But it includes payroll for the men and women who fly the airplanes in. It includes payroll for the people who do the taxiway project. It includes payroll for the gentleman who drives the fuel truck onto the airport to refuel the gas and the jet fuel. And it includes salaries not only on the airport proper, but all the ancillary people who are involved with the airport. Now, the exact formula for how they come up with that, that's a MassDOT thing, and you'd have to ask them. I cannot answer that, but I can get, that's the overview, the best overview I can give you.
I appreciate that, Huntley, but again, this is not a payroll that's incurred by the town of Chatham.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay. Next, we're going to go to 9.4.
Thank you.
Local negotiations and resolutions. And I'm just wondering, since the airport is looking to become more self-sufficient, when can we start implementing things like landing fees?
I cannot answer that. We already have landing fees.
None that go to this, none that are contributed to the town of Chatham.
Under the management agreement, the landing fees go to the airport manager, the FBO. That's under the management agreement.
Well, I've talked to the town manager. I'm questioning the contract that was written, but for that, but I'll get that's different. Yeah, I understand.
Okay, Commissioner, are you done or not?
I'm looking.
All right.
Well, I wish you had had these written out in advance.
Well, I have to look at the pages. How about page 9.8?
In advance of tonight.
I have done it in advance of tonight, Huntley. I'm going through the pages.
Let's go.
9.8, an overview of airport revenues and expenditures can be found. I dispute those figures because at some point, the FAA has stated that there is a non-growth in airports that are comparable to what we have. And I apologize. I'm not sure how they describe our airport, but I dispute those figures.
Okay.
And I guess that's it.
I can't argue that. That's your opinion.
And I would like to okay, I'm going to put through a motion, and I would like to find out if it's second that we not approve this pending its submission to the FAA. And I'd like to see if I get a second on that.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, motion fails. Commissioner Polk I think you had your hand up.
Hey, Burke? Yeah, I move that we accept the whole as you recommended.
Okay, hang on. I've got Commissioner Cortese with his hand up also. I'll keep that in mind. Commissioner Cortese,
Yes,
Mr.
Chairman
Mr.
Harrison. There's a lot of background noise. I'm not sure who that is.
I don't
With
either. I don't
paper
know
shuffling. Chairman Harrison, I just wanted to make a couple comments on that, and just a clarification. That 4.3 million that Ms. Wilcox was referring to, that was related to the that's a MassDOT study, correct?
Yes.
That's nothing to do with us. Okay, and just my experience with landing fees. In airports, as I've flown throughout the U.S. For close to 15 years. The landing fees, they had them at Provincetown for a short amount of time, and it didn't work out so well for them. And I can do some research as to why exactly that didn't work out. But I have framed a 75-cent landing fee I got in an airport that was mailed to me, and then they mailed it to the wrong address. And so they had to mail it twice. And if I added up the cost of administration and everything else that went into that landing fee, it probably cost that airport a multiple more than they made. And it depends on how much you're going to charge for a landing fee. Typically across the U.S., there are, in small airports similar to Chatham, there are no landing fees. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, we have landing fees for the turboprops because they're charters.
Yes, we do, and we have
the general aviation.
Yeah,
and tie down the general aviation aircraft. There's no fee for them because they're usually transient.
Yes.
Okay, I had a motion. It wasn't seconded. Do I have a second to accept Chapter 9 in total?
Second.
Okay, so I think Mr. Burke made the motion.
Huntley, before this is put through, can I make a statement, please?
Yes. We have a motion and seconded, so this is discussion, so you're good to go. Commissioner Wilcox, we're good to go.
She's muted.
I know. Commissioner Burke?
Commissioner, I would like to just mention that I spoke to the FAA last week with regards to questions about submitting, excuse me.
Excuse me. While you were muted, I went to someone else, so you'll have to wait your turn.
Okay.
I'm calling. I'd like to call the question.
All right. The question's been called. All in favor of Chapter 9? No. Yeah. I got a roll call. Commissioner Burke?
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese?
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan?
Yes.
Commissioner Galen?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox?
No.
Commissioner Harrison? Yes.
Huntley, I would like to make a statement, please.
Yes, you go right ahead.
And I wish you'd let me do this prior to this vote.
Well,
and I object that you didn't.
Mrs. Wilcox.
Okay.
Mrs. Wilcox.
I spoke, okay.
Mrs. Wilcox.
Thank you.
I gave you the opportunity. You were muted. I waited. You did not come on board. I went to another person. Then the question was called. I'm sorry, but you have to keep up.
Huntley, you waited about, okay, you can, I'm not going to dispute this. Last week, I spoke to the FAA in conjunction to questions about the master plan and certain procedures.
Okay.
I decided to put together some questions because I realized this was a federal agency and they didn't have a heck of a lot of time for me. Anyway, these are the questions I asked. When does the completed master plan need to be submitted and approved by the FAA? And what are the FAA regulations?
Excuse me for a second. How many questions do you have?
Does that make any difference?
Yes, it does.
How many can I have?
That's not the point. How many do you have?
5.
Pardon me?
5.
Because we're going to try to answer your questions, but if you had like a dozen questions, I wasn't going to go there.
5.
Okay,
1,
first
2, 3,
question.
4, 5.
Mr. Karen, are you listening?
When does the completed
Yes, I am,
master?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. When does the completed master plan need to be submitted and approved by the FAA, and what are the FAA regulations surrounding that?
What's the next question?
Can you answer that?
I can. It's June 19th of 2021 is when the master plan is due. Otherwise, the FAA will not fund any portions of it after that period of time.
Thank you.
Next question.
Can any of the already submitted quote unquote draft chapters be amended?
Mr. Karen?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, turning my microphone on. Yeah, I mean, any of these projects, like we've mentioned, certainly get revisited on an annual basis with the FAA and Mass DOT. These projects are certainly not etched in stone. Things change. The environment at airports change. Structures of the airports change, and therefore projects that you may have planned a year or two ago or even longer certainly can get revisited and stuff can get changed with the FAA.
And that's not answering the question. Can the already submitted drafts chapters be amended before the master plan has been fully submitted to the FAA?
I suppose if there was something substantial that warranted a redraft, that the commission could request that, and we could certainly work with the funding agencies to see if that'd be something that they would accept.
Next question.
Yep.
Would it be possible to request an extension to the date due to the COVID pandemic? The extension of the date on the finalization of the master plan.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have the authorization to speak on behalf of the FAA to indicate as to whether or not they would issue an extension. So that would have to defer.
Okay.
Okay.
Next question.
I received the answer from the project manager. Would you like to know what that answer is?
What project manager?
The project manager that I spoke to at FAA last week. I gave her all these questions. She gave me the answers. Would you like to have that answer?
I guess, yeah.
It's possible that the submission of the master plan can be extended 4 years. And again, however, it's not going to be covered by grant funding, but it can be extended for 4 years versus 3.
I think that's what Mr. Karen just said, that we wouldn't be eligible for funding.
But I'm saying that I'm not debating the funding.
Well, the funding is pretty important.
I'm going to request or ask the Board of Selectmen if they would be willing to request that this get extended and worry about the funding. So you don't need to worry about the funding at this point yet.
I think what you're going to find is, what you're going to find is that the Board of Selectmen will defer back to the Airport Commission based on Massachusetts state law, Chapter 90.
We'll see what happens, Hunley. I have spoken to several commissioners.
Okay.
The last question is, typically, does the airport layout plan get submitted to the FAA before the master plan has been submitted and approved by the FAA?
That varies depending on the airport you're working at and the structure of that master plan process. And in this particular case, that is exactly what happened. The airport layout plan was submitted in advance of chapters 7 and chapters 9, which are inconsequential to the airport layout plan. And the FAA was aware of that, and they went ahead and they approved the airport layout plan.
The question was, does the ALP get submitted to the FAA before the master plan has submitted? Is it typically before. The master plan has been submitted and approved by the FAA, and the project manager said no.
So,
And I'd like to just conclude with this with a statement. Where is this? Once chapters are submitted to the FAA, they are accepted by the FAA as final. They are not approved. The FAA does not approve anything. They assume that what has been submitted has followed the suggested guidelines and followed the directions given in the appropriate documents. They assume that the Board of Selectmen has on the Airport Commission persons who represent the airport and the town, and that the Airport Commission would not submit paperwork that has not fulfilled the obligations and desires of all involved. And that includes Chatham, Board of Selectmen, airport, pilots, and the community in general. And I submit to you, Huntley, that I submit to you, Huntley, there's been a lot of problems with communications with the community. And if you want to go over this, your team thing about what you want or whatever, I just want to state this. You say town residents have voiced their concerns and formed questions about the final authority for the airport decision-making, as well as expressed concern about the master plan communication problems. They have accused the Airport Commission of not being transit. I agree with that. They have accused the commission of not taking into account the will of the citizens. I agree with that. They have not adhered to its own process of listening to residents. I agree with that. And they have not cared about what is transpiring. You have not been transparent in this whole process, Huntley, period.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Wilcox. It's duly noted. And again, I think we'll have to agree to disagree. And I think you'll find some other commissioners who will follow on that. And so I'm sorry. You're certainly welcome to your opinion. But I think it's been demonstrated that we've kind of answered all those questions. And I definitely do not agree with what you've said. I'm sorry.
Huntley, if you've answered all the questions, then why are they being posed again?
Quiet.
Or not felt that you've been answered?
They're being posed because there are a lot of
people. Because they have not been answered.
They have been answered. I'm not going to get into it with you right now.
Thank you.
In fact,
we'll discuss this at an off meeting.
You're out of order right now.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on. Okay, I know I've got some people with their hands up, and I'm sorry, this is board discussion only. So those of you with your hands up, you're going to have to wait till the public comment period. Sorry. H2 hangar vacancy. Oh, by the way, Mr. Karen, thank you very much.
Huntley,
Mr. Galen.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the engineer's report.
Well, we did that.
I didn't think we accepted the whole report, did we? Just
we accepted chapter 7 and 9 separately. Oh, you're right.
So I make a motion that we accept the engineer's report for tonight.
Okay.
Second.
All right. And that was Mike and Mike. Okay. All in favor of accepting the engineer's report, Commissioner Burke?
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese?
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan?
Yes.
Commissioner Galen?
Yes.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox?
No.
Commissioner Harrison? Yes. Okay. Moving on to section D. hangar vacancy. In the handout for the minute, for the package for this meeting, I have put up a document, and Mr. Whalen, if you're still there, if you want to put that up on the screen, I'd appreciate it. Terry, you there? Oh, there you are. Okay, thank you. This is just to let you all know there's been another hangar changeover. We have found a lessee for hangar 3A. Eastwood Company is vacating, and we did have someone waiting for that hangar. The lease commitment is paid through the end of this month, giving Eastwood Company a chance to move out. And there are no pending leases or lessees interested in that other than the person who we, or I should say Eastwood Company does not have any pending sublets. So since we have not received a sublet, nor any indication that there is one pending, where hangar H2 is now available for occupancy by an individual or entity from the current wait list, and we happen to have that person. So I just wanted, that's more of a notification for everybody. I think we're not going to vote on all these changeovers every time because it would get cumbersome. But there is going to be a published wait list, and we'll get into that in a moment. But I would like a motion to accept this hangar changeover for now, since it's a little unusual. So
Huntley, I'd like to make a comment before the motion is processed.
No, when we're going to make a motion, we're going to second it, and then we'll have discussion.
Okay.
Do I have a motion, please?
But this is in conjunction to.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, please. Commissioner Wilcox.
As a commissioner, well, first of all, I'd like to request that we get the waiting list that the airport manager prioritized by date on who is on the waiting list, so that we can adequately, excuse me, Huntley, I'm not finished.
If you
so
just
that we can adequately put the right people into the, excuse me, Huntley, into the hangar.
Talk about that.
All right, well then I would like to say, all right.
So on the next page.
Well, I would, okay, in conjunction to your statements about that you just proposed, as a commissioner, I would request that any hangar that does not have a person or a company that is not signed and committed to said lease for at least 5 years, and again, we have at least 2, be required to vacate said hangar immediately. The town and even the commission members are liable should a problem such as an accident or destruction of property occur. So again, I request that those 2 hangars be vacated immediately and not be assigned to individuals or companies until the commission approves the list according to who's been on the list longest. Thank you.
Well, we approved one of them in the last meeting.
No, we didn't.
All right.
And again, Huntley, these people are been in these hangars illegally for over a year. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Chatham, the town of Chatham, and the commission could have been liable if there had been an accident there. That is unacceptable. That is why I'm requesting that in both hangars be vacated and pending the commission decide who's going in there.
Well, I can't answer that right now. I'm sorry.
I would like to put a motion that, all right, well, then I'd like to put a motion.
Pending.
Excuse me?
You can't make a motion. There's a motion pending.
Yeah, the motion pending is to accept this, I'm assuming.
That's right.
I would like to put a motion through that we hold, that the hangars be, the property and people in those hangars be required to vacate immediately. And I'd like to have that motion second.
You can move to amend the current motion.
I don't want to amend, I want to put a
You can't
motion
do
for,
that.
He doesn't want to amend it. I called the question.
You, like we did before, you can make a motion to amend it. If it's seconded, we'll amend it. If not, we'll go ahead. So go ahead.
are you asking me to go ahead?
Yes.
I would like to put it through a motion.
No. You have to, your motion has to be to amend the current motion on the floor, which
I
has
would
been
like
moved.
to amend the current motion on the floor. And in conjunction to that, I would also like to put a motion.
No, one at a time. All those in favor of amending the motion on the floor? Commissioner Burke,
Nay.
Commissioner Cortese,
No.
Commissioner Donovan,
No.
Commissioner Galen,
No.
Commissioner Owens,
No.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison, no. So we'll move on. We have the motion on the floor to accept the H2 hangar changeover as stated. So Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox. I'll take that as a no. Commissioner Harrison, yes. Let's see, before we move on to this, I've got a couple of questions here. Commissioner Burke, you had your hand up. Was that
Nope.
just
I'm
from
good.
before?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. I'll lower it. Mr. Howard, Airport Manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, maybe oversight on process. I am unsure that you guys actually took the vote on chapter 9. You had a motion on the floor, it was seconded, and then you went to discussion, but I do not think you ever actually voted on that.
No, wait a minute. I had a 6-1-0 vote.
But that was for the engineer's report. You guys were actually voting on the chapters previously. That was your intent, you had stated.
Well, chapter 9, I had a 6-1-0 vote. And on the engineer's report, I had a 6-1-0 vote.
Okay, that was not clear. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad we cleared it up. Commissioner Cortese,
Yes, would it hurt to do a second vote if it wasn't just for procedure?
on what?
On chapter 9, if Mr. Howard was correct, I recall that we did it as well, as you mentioned.
I mean, I wrote it down. I think we're good.
Okay.
Do any other commissioners have any questions about that I might have missed something there? I think we're good. Yep. Okay, I think we're good. All right. And Mr. Karen, I think you had your hand up. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was questioning the same thing myself, to be honest with you. So my apologies to interrupt the meeting.
Oh, well,
Perhaps we should be prudent.
well,
Let's redo it.
we can, is this for chapter 9? All right.
Chapter 9, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Can we make a motion for chapter 9, please?
I move that we accept chapter 9 in its whole.
I second.
Okay. That's what I've got written down is the same two people from before. But anyway, okay. We've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Accept.
Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
Commissioner Harrison. Yes. So it carries 610. All right. Now, if we turn the page and go over to the waiting list protocol, this was brought up to us as an agenda item to discuss, and we frankly didn't really have one because we're kind of new to the hangar business, so to speak, hangar management business. So we put something together that you all have read, and we can go through this. Basically, what it says, it tells how the hangars will be assigned. And so I'll just go through this with you. Hangar H2 hangar unit becomes available for leasing. The Airport Commission will offer such unit to the first person or entity on the waiting list for that hangar size. If a person on the waiting list chooses not to accept the available H2 hangar unit, the Airport Commission, through the airport manager, will document declination of such offer and will contact the next person or entity on the waiting list and so forth until said person or entity accepts the offer of the available unit. Upon the acceptance of an offer for a vacant unit, the chair of the Airport Commission will approve the assignment and notify the commission at its next public meeting. And then the maintenance of the waiting list is the next two bullets. Requests by persons or entities to be placed on the hangar unit's waiting list can be submitted on a rolling basis throughout the year to the Airport Commission. And then it is the responsibility of that person or entity on the waiting list to ensure that the Airport Commission has a current email address, and failure to provide or maintain a current email address with the Airport Commission will not be grounds to maintain priority. So they'll basically lose their place in line. So any comments on the waiting list protocol? Okay.
Huntley,
Go ahead.
where will the list be maintained physically?
I will have a copy, or the chairman, I should say, will have a copy, and the airport manager will have a copy. Because most pilots will talk to him first, and he'll relay the message to us. Commissioner Cortese?
Yes, I just want to say this is standard as to how I've seen it at other airports. I've had a hangar at several airports, and it's an administrative task once the procedure is set by the entity.
Okay. Thank you.
Or the commission, so to speak.
Right. Okay. Will someone make a motion to approve the hangar waiting list protocol?
So moved.
And that would be, I think, Commissioner Burke.
Correct.
Thank you. And second was who?
Commissioner Cortese.
Thank you. All right. Roll call vote. Commissioner Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese.
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan.
Yes.
Commissioner Galen.
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison. Yes. Thank you all very much. We will now move on to letter F, since E was tabled. And before we start this one, I would like to just make a quick comment before we start this. The Commission's action plan going forward is to continue the AMPU process as outlined and to consider reasonable input from the public. We endeavor to communicate clearly. We understand that we will not be able to please everyone, but we need to move forward. In keeping with our mission and our statutory responsibility, we are diligently working to improve operational safety, both in the air and on the ground, working to improve infrastructure, considering environmental impact, considering financial sustainability and economic impact, and ensuring compliance with federal and state grant assurances. Our approach with all these items is to ensure that they ultimately have a positive effect on the town's citizens and preserve, not expand, the airport for the future. Thank you. All right. I would like to add another comment at this point, that in the last meeting, we discussed these three options. And as I read through the minutes of that meeting, in that section of the meeting, I noticed that there was very little conversation specifically with regard to option one, the Citizens Advisory Committee. There were some peripheral comments about it, but a lot of it had to do with process for the AMPU. And so at the end of that meeting, I asked for people to send me comments via email with regard to their support or non-support of the Citizens Advisory Committee. And that due date for those was last Wednesday, the 6th, which I hoped would give us time to coordinate all those and make an announcement tonight, which I'm about to do. What we got was basically no letters in support of option one, nothing, which was the Citizens Advisory Committee. What we did get were letters, and I didn't count them, but there were numerous letters in support of moving ahead and not in support of the Citizens Advisory Committee. They were more interested in option two or option three or some hybrid of those two. In my opinion, I feel that we have done due diligence with the Airport Master Plan update over the last several years and months. And that I think moving forward, we can satisfy everyone if we go with chapter two, option two, which is the chapter review as the projects come up over the next few months and years. If we need to use the option three for small informal group meetings, I'm all in favor of that, if that's what the citizenry wants. But we can talk about that down the road. But I do feel that at this time that we should move ahead. We will be having, we hope, a better, and we're working on this, I promise you, we're working on this, better communications. We will be posting things between now and the next meeting in February. You'll note that the one item that was left off tonight was the working with a public relations firm, and we left that off due to some issues with that. But we will come back and revisit that at some point in the future when those issues get straightened out. So tonight, what I'm asking the commission to do is to discuss and look at all three options again, and then we'll take a vote on how we're going to move forward. So the floor is open. Mrs. Wilcox.
I submit that there have been inquiries made to either the town manager or the Board of Selectmen and or the Airport Commission with other requests as far as these three options. And with that in mind, I would very much like the commission to hold off on making a decision at least until next month. Huntley, I would, because I don't believe that the public at large realized that there was a time constraint on that. And again, because I didn't know that, and I apologize for my, again, Holly, I'm asking. You can say no, but I'm asking a request.
I can only tell you what we put in the minutes and what I requested of the public. I'm sorry if the public didn't respond. And I will tell you this, that emails that go to the town do come to me. I think there might have been, no, there were none in support. I didn't get one email that supported the Citizens Advisory Committee, unless it didn't come to me. And that could have happened. But I'm telling you what I had in my email.
Well, then again, I would request that this be postponed and give the citizens the capability to review this at next meeting, because I firmly believe that there was a misunderstanding. And again, I did not get a record of the minutes until just a couple of days ago.
That was the same for all the other commissioners.
I understand that, but the public didn't get the minutes either to make any comment. So you're.
I don't know what to tell you. We put them out. Our minutes are now, our meeting package is now coming out much earlier than it used to.
Then what you need to tell me is that you'll be willing to extend this. That's all I'm asking, because I'm telling you, there was a misunderstanding.
Susan, we'll be taking it to a vote, just like we've been.
I know what the vote's going to be, Huntley. I'm requesting that you hold off on this. You know what the vote's going to be, and I know what the vote's going to be. And I also know that I will get to you other letters that were sent to the Board of Selectmen or other people, and I'd like you to postpone this until you get a copy of those letters.
I'll put it, all I can do is put it to the commission. And I will do that.
But you're putting it to the commission with saying that you haven't received anything. No. I will get you information.
They get all the correspondence as well. You got all the correspondence.
Huntley, I would be happy to give you the other correspondence.
What other correspondence?
I don't know what other correspondence there could be.
Requesting a different layout on this, including more input from the public, and you're completely disregarding option one. Huntley, this is inexcusable what you're doing, period. I close.
Good. Well, I'm just working with the commission. That's all I'm doing.
You're working with the commission without getting the public involved, Huntley. You know that, and I know that.
The public has been involved for 2 years.
The public does not believe that they've been adequately involved, Huntley. You know that, and I know that.
That's a matter of opinion.
Well, get the opinion of the public, Huntley.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that.
Get the opinion of the public before you get the public relations firm.
Mrs. Wilcox, as I said in my opening statement, we feel we have done our due diligence. All right.
The public doesn't feel the same way.
I've got two commissioners who have their hand up, Mr. Burke first, and then Mr. Cortese.
I don't think it's advisable to delay this anymore. I think needs to come to a vote. As a member of the public and as a commissioner, I think the issue's been discussed ad nauseum. And I think that it's just a delaying tactic from a small group of people who just seem to want to frustrate the mission of the commission. So I'm not in favor of delaying it. I concur with your recommendation that option 2 looks like a viable option, and I would recommend that the commission adopt option 2.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Cortese? Commissioner Cortese? Are you there?
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry, no, it muted for some reason. Apologize for that. Thank you, Commissioner Harrison, or Chairman Harrison. I just wanted to, I was quickly looking at the amount of emails that we received with all the correspondence, and I'm counting 4 or 5, and I read through them all. as backing up what you had stated with the advisory committee. And I believe you get all the emails that that come to the commission or the board of selectmen, correct?
I should. Yeah, if it's, if they feel it's important to forward on, I guess, yeah, they forward, I get a lot of forwards. And I don't.
We have the.
I didn't get one. I didn't get any.
Yeah, I believe all that's in the correspondence as it is. There was one that came in as early as, well, there were two that came in today. And also, I'm not in favor of delaying this. I think it's been discussed, and I'm in favor of moving forward.
Well, we've had a request to postpone this until the next meeting, and I'd like some comments from the commissioners on that, please. Commissioner Owens?
I don't think we need to postpone it. I think this has been going round and round for months and months and months. I would be, my opinion, I can't speak for the rest of the commissions or the general public, but a citizens advisory group would just give what I feel is not the group for a safer airport, it's a group for no airport. And it would just give them another platform to waste the town's time and money, which is quite substantial. And I would lean towards option 2.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cortese again.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that I'm not in favor of delaying this. I would like to make a vote on it tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Galen?
We've gone round and round on this topic for, I don't know, it must be over a year now. And I've struggled with it, thinking about the concept. And then I think real broadly, what does an advisory committee bring to us that we don't get now when we've had open public meetings and full discussion? Meetings that went hours discussing just the AMPU at various times, not to mention some chapter discussion meetings prior to those. And I can't, and when I've come back to it, having once thought maybe it's not a bad idea, when I keep coming back to it, I said, no, I don't see what it adds. We're talking about an advisory committee. They'll have no say in any kind of vote. Just getting them together will be a challenge enough. And the same kind of debate will happen there that happens in our meetings. So I don't see what adding another layer does to help the process in any direction or any group, aside from delaying things, as Mike just said. Because we meet once a month. Occasionally we've met a little more often when the matters were so dire or so in need of assessing quicker. So another layer just to lengthen out the process doesn't seem to make sense. And if we're talking about the AMPU, I definitely at this point would be against delaying anything any further in this process.
Thank you. Commissioner Donovan.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely time to move on. I mean, I've been involved in this for almost 8 years now on the commission. And one thing I've always kept in the back of my mind as we go through all this is that the primary mission at the end of the day is safety for the people on the ground and the pilots. And I think that's not stated necessarily in our mission statement, but that's really at the end of the day, we're focused on safety for all. So it's time to move on and do the best we can for everybody here for safety's sake.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Cortese, do you have something else to say before I go to Mrs. Wilcox?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Geilen. That was, and I can expand just quickly on it as well. I've given the advisory committee a lot of thought and the 3 options a lot of thought. I remember, to your point, Mr. Geilen, this was went on for a year, it's an added layer of complication. We already have a 7-person commission with that has a broad representation, I don't feel that there's a need for it. I feel it's just going to add, keeping the same process we've had has worked, and we've had a lot of positive benefits over the last year that I've seen out of this public comment and the format we've been using.
I agree. Commissioner Wilcox, one last statement.
My last statement is I would like to remind the board that in January of this year, or wait a minute,
With a commission.
in January and February of last year, both the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, as well as, and that is Shireen Davis, as well as Peter Kokolas, our liaison, strongly requested that we implement a citizen advisory board. And I don't want to speak out of line, but I believe both of them indicated that the commission, they believe that the commission had not done so up till that point. I agree with their assessment, and I believe that stands to date. And I would also like to remind the chairman that Commissioner Geislin, in his debate of whether to implement an advisory board, stated that they would have input, but right after he stated that, he said, but they would, no. They could have input, but it would have no reflection on any changes or something to that regard. And that's completely why there should be a citizen advisory board, because commissioners like you and Mr. Galen believe that. And I would like to remind Commissioner Donovan of when he was put it in front of the Board of Selectmen with regards to an advisory board. And I would hope that he would reconsider. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've got two commissioners. I think, Mr. Galen, I'll take you first since you were just addressed by the other commissioner.
What I cannot remember my exact words. I didn't read any kind of written statement, but what I said, or at least intended to say, was an advisory committee would not have any decision-making ability, would be just adding information to us for us to make decisions, no different than we have now from the public.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Cortese, one more time? Or
Yeah,
just from before?
Just quickly, just quickly. I just reviewed the meeting notes and the package we had from last week, just to do due diligence on my part to make sure that I believe that this is the correct route, and I believe this is the correct route.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mrs. Wilcox.
One last comment.
You've had your last comment before.
Excuse me, you've had two commissioners make two responses. I'd like to respond to Mr. Geilen's statements.
All right,
that's it. If he said, excuse me, Huntley, he stated that the advisory committee would cause no change to the commission's decision. That is an exact wrong reason to have an advisory. You get the citizens' input. You take the, excuse me, and you take it into consideration with possible changes instead of saying that they do not have any input, period. Thank you.
No, I think I'm not going to try to answer for Mr. Galen, but I think what he was saying is they would not have any decision-making power. They would advise the commission on what they were talking about.
He said no input, Huntley.
And then it would be up to the commission to decide if that was something they wanted to move forward with. I'd like to exercise a motion, please, from someone on this issue. And I think what we'll do is the way I want the motion read is to select the option you'd like to go with. We'll start with option one. We're going to go right through all of them. And I'm going to take a roll call vote on all of them. And we will go from there. So I need a motion. Commissioner Burke, is your hand up for the motion?
Yes, yes it is.
This is the motion to support or defeat option one. Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Second.
We have a second. Let me just write this down. Okay, Commissioner Burke,
Nay.
Commissioner Cortese,
Nay.
Commissioner Donovan,
Nay.
Commissioner Galen,
No.
Commissioner Owens,
No.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Yes, with provisions added. Thank you.
Commissioner Harrison. No. Motion carries 6-1-0. Option 2. Can I have a motion for option 2?
Motion for option 2.
Seconded.
And that was, let's see. And I believe that was Mr. Burke, who seconded?
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese,
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan,
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes.
Commissioner Galen,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
Commissioner Harrison, yes. Okay. And option 3, I have a motion. And this would be to create small informal group meetings immediately.
No.
No, I need a motion.
So moved.
And that was
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Second.
Okay, option 3, Mr. Burke made the motion, and I think I had one of the mics as second, or both. All right. Roll call. Commissioner Burke,
No.
Commissioner Cortese,
No.
Commissioner Donovan,
No.
Commissioner Galen,
No.
Commissioner Owens,
No.
Commissioner Wilcox,
No.
Commissioner Harrison, no. So we will move forward over the next few months, doing the best we can under chapter review process. As the EA comes out, we will discuss the EA. We will have lots of data there. I think it'll hopefully clarify a lot of the issues that we've been confronted with and answer a lot of the questions that people have been asking for. But now we have a master plan that we can finally submit to the FAA for final approval, and we'll put the final master plan up on our website, and we will move forward with answering questions, and we will do the best we can. I promise everybody, even though you may not think so, I'm promising everybody that we will get the information out as clearly as we can and answer as many questions as we can. I'm looking into getting some clerical help for us and to help manage all of this. And I'm hoping that we can move forward with a public relations firm to help us organize and get that information out there. So at this time, I'd like to open it to public comments, and just so you know, we need to end the meeting at 8 o'clock. 3 hours, I was told, is basically the limit we have these days. So these will be quick. Mrs. Gibbs.
Yes, thank you. The first thing I'd like to request is that the hangar wait list be included online, not just with the chairman and not with the airport manager.
Well, yes, I'm sorry. I meant to do that. I meant to say that.
All right, because
Yeah,
that's
that'll be
what they
there.
do for phone mornings, so
Yes,
that should
no.
be online.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
All right, then as it relates to what was discussed with the public, I believe Commissioner Cortese had said we've talked over and over about chapter 7 and 9 with the public. That is not true. I started coming to these meetings at the end of the summer, and chapter 7 and 9 were going to be discussed in October, and financials are kind of one of my interests, and I have been prepared to make my comments since October 28th, and that's not happened. And that's because the agenda was too long, and the meeting was called just when you started talking about Chapter 7, and it never appeared again on the agenda anywhere. And I went through every agenda, and I went through all the minutes, all the meetings. They were never appeared, and then we went into COVID, and there haven't been any. So there was never any public discussion on the financial sustainability of the airport, and I think that was something that's really crucial because there were a lot of things in there that I had a problem with.
Would you please send me those notes so I can include them so we can discuss them at a future meeting?
It's a little late because you just approved the AMPU.
If you listen to Mr. Karen, he said we can go back and we can look at things.
Well, you put the cart before the horse again. You went and approved the AMPU because you have this deadline supposedly that we've never heard of before in 2021. It was usually further out than that. And I guess we have to vote. You have to vote on it tonight so that we know what's in it later. Our comments, we'll have around 2 or 3, but we wanted to do it before. The other question I have.
Yeah, just please send that to me. I'd love to see it.
Well, it's a little old now. I'm going to have to update it.
Well, whatever. Yeah, please do.
13 months ago.
Please.
How much is left on the Gale contract? That didn't get answered unless I left the room for a minute.
I don't know. Mr. Karen, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, Huntley, I'm still here, and there's about $1,000 left on that contract.
Okay, thank you. So that's part of the rush, I assume, because you're going to have that re-upped.
Yeah.
I would like to also comment that I don't recall a chairman of a committee ever just canceling an agenda item once it's been on, unless the person running it didn't show up. But to just automatically decide that we were not going to talk about public comment, I think is a little autocratic.
Are you talking about the cancellation of item E?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a conflict of interest issue.
Okay.
And we have to clear that up with the state.
All right.
So it was suggested to me by town council that I remove that from the agenda.
All right. Well, thank you. That would help to hear that at the time. Also,
just so everyone knows, I'm taking, if you can see on your screen, I'm going to be taking everyone's hand in order, including commissioners. And commissioners, just so you know, you will have the last word tonight. So if I don't take you in order, don't worry.
All right. Then I just want to, I was a little
3 minutes. It's been over 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Gibbs.
Hey, wait a minute. Where does it say 3 minutes?
It's been standard procedure. I mentioned it before.
I have waited all.
Okay, because all right, you have one more question then.
Oh boy.
I'll give you that.
Right. You made an opening statement. I would like a copy of that opening statement. It was pretty. It was pretty inclusive. It should have been posted ahead of time. I think it's pretty important. I would like to know if that was your opinion or the consensus of the board.
It is my opinion. It is my statement.
Your
My
statement.
feeling.
Okay, so we haven't seen that. I think it's really important because you made a lot of decisions there that there would be no advisory committee and that you were moving forward and that there's been enough public discussion. I've been attending meetings for over 10 years, and without question, I have been to over 1,000 easily. And I have never heard a question called at the committee level when a committee member has wanted to speak and then the rest of the group went and called it on her. I think that's disgraceful. And I have never witnessed such a gross abuse of power and authority in all of these years as I have with the statement made as the commissioner at the opening. And I think that you need to step back. The autocracy I see here, the treatment of the public, and I would say the condescension you are showing Ms. Wilcox. She is a new member, and the eye rolling I have noticed by all of you gentlemen, the heads dropping when she speaks, when she is trying to make a point. She's in the minority. She knows she's in the minority. Grow up, have a little class. I think you need to decide you know, I'd like to know who keeps handing you, Mr. Harrison. All of a sudden you have announcements to make in the middle of the meetings and you're reading them. Somebody is feeding you stuff.
No, no one's feeding me anything. I'm reading my notes. I'm reading my notes.
Others are waiting.
Yeah,
Okay,
move on.
here we go.
You're getting
Thank
things
you,
said
Mrs.
to you,
Gibbs.
and
Thank you.
I think there are other members, and we've got like 6 chairmen here.
Mi-
And
mi-
I think you should be ashamed. I think this has been one of the most abusive meetings I've ever seen in my life.
Mrs. Gibbs,
Yeah,
Very,
I'm sorry you feel that way. That's all I can say.
all the boys.
Mr. Quinn,
Thanks, Commissioner Harrison. I appreciate it. Just as a
say it
point
was
of
beyond
order
the
from
scale, because I know I just was muted.
Quiet.
I just lowered your hand, that's all.
Are you done, Ms. Gibbs? Can others speak, or is it just going to be you tonight?
I think you've got guys who've done a lot of speaking, so I think the public.
I haven't said a word all night, and you've already had 10 minutes at the beginning and about 8 minutes at the end. I've
Who's
had
talking?
0.
Who's talking to
This
me?
is Dana. This is Dana Quinn. DQ is up on the board.
DQ.
there.
All right, fine, Dana Quinn. Are you a member of the public? You can, I'm
Yes,
sure
I
you
am.
can speak as much as anybody else.
Yep, well, he's about to.
Well, go
I'm
ahead. But I mean,
trying.
why is he talking to me? He should go through the chair.
He did. His hand was
did
up
go
and I
through the chair.
recognized
I
it.
raised my hand and Chairman Harrison called my name, but you kept talking. If you're done, I'd like to say a couple things, and I would keep my comments to 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I appreciate it. I'm just a little concerned. The length of these meetings is really getting unruly. It took 37 minutes to get actually started on the agenda. And I think part of the reason was, even though you requested that all comments be waited till the end, there were 37 minutes of people commenting, and it was the same 4 people that kept raising their hands and talking about adding agenda items. It's just a suggestion, and that's all, to kind of keep the meetings down. But having to wait 3 hours to say something, and I know I'm already a minute into my 3 minutes, I promise. I'm almost finished. I just wish that all the commissioners were as on board as some of the others I've seen. I think they've done yeoman's work here in the midst of all of these personal attacks, when all they're trying to do is their job and increase the safety of the Chatham Airport. And when it starts devolving into personal attacks, when these folks, all of them, all 7 commissioners are trying to improve the safety of the Chatham Airport, and they get attacked like Chairman Harrison just did. Now that's despicable. But anyway, my name is Dana Quinn. I'm the one that made the offer many, many, many meetings ago to take anybody that wants to go up for a ride, anybody that wants an explanation of safety, and I'm the airline pilot that put my comments in the
Can someone, excuse me, Dana, can people mute their microphones, please? So the speakers can speak without background interruption. Thank you.
I've only got about 30 seconds left, but I just want to let everybody know that I was the guy that offered my airplane, my fuel, and my expertise to take people up and see what the commission is attempting to do. And I'll tell you, to this point, 0 people have any interest in learning anything more, seeing it firsthand, and no one has taken me up on my offer. So I think at this point, it's become very obvious to me that no one wants to be any more informed. All they want to do is delay the process. My time's up. Thanks a lot, Chairman Harrison.
Thank you, Dana. We appreciate it. Ms. Waters. Ms. Waters?
Yep, I'm coming up. Thank you. First of all, with all due respect to whoever's got all their background noise on there, if they could just mute their microphone, because we're listening to conversations that you probably don't want us to hear. So thank you very much. My name's Katie Waters. I grew up here in Chatham, and I've lived all over the country, just fortunately to be able to return home here. I just recently retired as a captain for Southwest Airlines with over 20,000 hours of flight time. It is this perspective, one from someone who learned to fly in a small airport with no control tower, to flying into the busiest cities across our country and overseas. I've gone from flying 2-seater airplanes to ones carrying over 185 passengers, flying for charter operations, commuters, regional airlines, as well as private businesses.
Please mute your phone number 18 something ending in 06. Please mute.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harrison. So it's with this perspective that I reviewed the proposed master plan for Chatham, that I can put it into context. Chatham's far cry from Los Angeles, from O'Hare, from Logan, and certainly even a far cry from Hyannis. Aircraft operations in Chatham are limited due to the variety of reasons, as well as its layout, which is so uniquely situated that it has no ability to expand. However, it provides an incredible service with relation to public safety and is a boost to the economy to Chatham in far-reaching ways. I applaud the Airport Commission for putting together a master plan that will make the airport safer and allow for modernization to keep pace with changing technology. All of us here tonight attending this meeting are able to do so because of advancements in technology, even in the midst of a pandemic that's even taking off further. So my concern arises because the activities that impede and stall the master plan submission. I was just flabbergasted when I received handouts and read letters that were distributed here in Chatham regarding the airport. The falsehoods, the misinformation, and the alarming accusations that were set out to destroy the mission of the Airport Commission. That, as it's stated in our town's publication, it's read there, as well as Mass DOT, to whom you folks answer to. So as a professional aviator, I cannot hear such misinformation without bringing the truth to light. So you guys are a team of, ladies are a team of volunteers. You're appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and you should be allowed to carry out your responsibility to the people of Chatham without being sidetracked and without being brought down. Any pilot knows fatigue is dangerous, but stalling is fatal. Right now is the time to take action, to move forward and submit the master plan. I've always stood up for little guy. I just didn't realize it'd be my little airport here in Chatham, and I'd be talking to the town of Chatham. But I do so now because my career and my professional knowledge has given me a voice to share, how much is at stake. And the one thing I learned here in the Chatham Public Schools is when something's not right, always speak up. Thank you for your time.
And thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Who's this?
I'm Gloria Freeman, and I'm on the telephone hoping to speak. So would you please put me on your list?
I can't get you on, but since you've been probably very patient waiting, I'll let you go right now.
Oh, thank you. I have been attending town committee, boards, and commissions meetings for over 35 years. Your meeting tonight was the most outrageous I have ever attended. You and the other members have been rude and dismissive and should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Haas.
Thank you, Chairman Harrison, for the time. I just wanted to very briefly thank the commission for moving forward and closing out the AMPU and just making the point, to the public, which I think, was made, but perhaps not directly, that the AMPU truly is, it's a list of things that may be implemented. It's a list of things that some folks believe are very beneficial to the town in, in a number of ways, economic, safety, and, and so forth. It has proponents and opponents, but it has no commitment whatsoever associated with it that it will actually go forward. So it is just the beginning point for a substantive discussion of the actual details. And, members of the community that have been requesting the details, they have been putting the cart before the horse. We just want to get all these things on the table and then get into a discussion that involves the community, the commission, and the FAA and Mass DOT for the best way forward. So this is just a starting point. The other thing I just wanted to point out with respect to those people that were concerned about, the commission and its decisions on a advisory group. When this was first brought up by the public as a suggestion, things were very actually different. And a lot of complaints were made to the Board of Selectmen. Indeed, the Board of Selectmen have chosen and appointed or reappointed 4 out of the 7 airport commissioners. So for the public to understand, they have done their best job to make a commission that truly represents the best interests of the community as a whole. And I just wanted to put that on the record, that this is something that the Board of Selectmen has had full control of. I mean, they have appointed and reappointed a majority of the board of majority of the airport commission, and that is truly a sign that this reflects the best interests of the Chatham community as a whole. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mr. Buckley. Mr. Buckley. Mr. Buckley, are you there? Okay, I'll move on. Mr. Fessenden.
Hi there. I'd like to change the tone of this conversation just a little bit and maybe try to put in perspective to the people on this call and the people of Chatham what a fine asset they have here. And I'm not just talking about economics. I'm talking about public safety and really their own safety as an individual. And I'm going to tell a very quick story. I fly for Angel Flight. Angel Flight is a group of volunteer pilots that transports desperately sick patients around the country. And Angel Flight pilots on the Cape typically take people to Boston hospitals. And I want people to understand that Chatham Airport has been used by Angel Flights over the past 5 years on 250 different flights. And just to put this in very real terms that I think everybody can relate to, this summer, I started flying a woman named Margaret from Martha's Vineyard to Logan. And I did that on several occasions. Margaret is 64. She's a school teacher. She's a runner. She's a mom. She was all of us. And one day, Margaret woke up with a cold. She didn't think much of it. She took vitamin C and Sudafed. She didn't get any better. So then she went to her doctor, and her doctor gave her antibiotics. She still didn't get any better. Eventually, she ended up at Mass General, and she learned that she had sinus cancer. That required treatment 5 days a week for 6 weeks in a row. Now, just think about that for a minute. She lives on the Cape, in this case, Martha's Vineyard, needed to get to Mass General 5 times a week for 6 weeks in a row. Now, how is she going to do that? She really couldn't drive because imagine being on the Southeast Expressway after your treatment, headed back home. She couldn't take Cape Air because she had a degraded immune system. So her other alternative was to get a hotel in Boston, but that would have been hideously expensive. Instead, what did she do? She called Angel Flight. Angel Flight gave her 60 flights free to her between Martha's Vineyard in Boston. She was able to sleep in her bed every night. And the reason that those flights were successful and could be operated as reliably as they were was because Martha's Vineyard and Boston have modern GPS instrument approaches like the ones that we're talking about here for Chatham. And I pose to you that any one of us might be unlucky enough one day to wake up with that cold and need to get to Mass General. And I really think that all of us ought to look into our own hearts and our souls and say, who are we to deny ourselves or our neighbors the opportunity to take angel flights between Chatham and Boston if ever it was so unfortunate that any of us would have to do that. That's what I have to say. Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Pessenden. Appreciate it. I have someone here who hasn't spoken for a long time, and that would be David Bixby, I believe. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, and I got the mic unmuted. I had just a couple of things. First of all, with respect to Dana Quinn's offer, I tried to reach out to him, but unfortunately, I couldn't find any way to do it. I contacted Tim Wood after Dana wrote his letter to made his offer in the Chronicle, and I asked Tim Wood to put me in contact with Dana Quinn, and he didn't. So,
well, one of us could have helped you.
Pardon?
I said one of us could have helped you.
Well, I'm asking now. I did ask and I got no response. So is the offer still on the table?
I believe so.
I'll tell you what, you talk it over Dana, and if Dana would like to talk to me, you have my email address.
Okay.
The other point is falsehoods and misinformation. I hear that time and time and time again. I just wish somebody would be more specific, because as long as we talk in generalities, we can't ever solve anything. So if there are actual specific falsehoods and misinformation out there, write them down, explain, put it out there on the website, and we can address it. Finally, there's a lot of confusion over this wait list. Last meeting, you said there wasn't a wait list. I got a list from Terry Whalen a year or so before that said there was a wait list with a bunch of names on it. Is there or is there not a wait list for hangars? That shouldn't be that hard a thing.
I can answer that real quick. That wait list, because that was a year ago or more, all those people either went to other airports or got another hangar at our airport somewhere.
So right now there is no wait list because nobody has.
Right now, there is no wait list, and we are about to create it. I know for a fact that we have emailed some people who are interested, and as they come back on a first come, first served basis, they'll go on the list. We'll timestamp and date stamp their names.
But right now, the interest isn't there, is what I'm hearing.
No, I said we have interest.
But are they on the wait list?
We're creating the wait list as we speak. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm done.
What more can I tell you? We sent an email out requesting anyone to people who the airport manager knew wanted hangars. So we sent the email out. We're waiting now to get back responses. And as those responses come in, and I don't know, I haven't asked him before this meeting where we are, because the email went out last week, where we are exactly with that. And as people send back their requests, they will go on that list on a first come, first served basis, date and time stamped.
Yeah, I understand that. The reason I asked is because I was led to believe from previous discussions that there was great demand, and that's why we put a request for new hangars into the master plan. But if the people on the list are no longer there, and you have to actually go out and try to find people who want hangars, that doesn't suggest to me a great demand. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and that project may not come to, come to fore.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go through the list. This is the final call for comments from the commissioners. Please keep your comments short. I'll go down alphabetically and then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Burke, final comments.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Cortese.
Same. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Donovan.
Same for me. Have a good evening.
Commissioner Galen.
Sorry, I've got a little bit more.
Okay.
Back during one of the first comments, there was a question about the Gale Associates contract, how much longer it has to run, and how much money was involved. And Matt, I hope you're still with us. Mentioned that there's about $1,000 left. I believe, Matt, that is just for the AMPU project.
Commissioner Galen, that is correct.
Right. So I just wanted to let the public know we don't talk in terms of a retainer contract with Gale. That's not what we're discussing when Matt brought that up. So it's not a matter of the comment was made that we're running out of time on it. That may be why we're anxious to do something. No, that is not at all the case. He was referring to one thing. I think there was a miscommunication there between the two people. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Next, Commissioner Owens, you have any final comments?
Yes, I've been going to commission, as everybody knows, going to airport meetings for a long time, and I've been hanging around the airport since I was a child, driving my bicycle from another town. There's no doubt in my mind that the airport is going to be there for many, many, many more generations. It's going to improve as technology and equipment allow, which would be mostly for safety reasons. And I think any improvement that comes along, we would be crazy not to take it up on it. You know, way back when we were still meeting they were still having the commission meetings in the back room at the airport. People came in and there were some comments made that if you didn't want to live near an airport, it's a free country. Don't live near an airport. And you know, it isn't a wise guy comment. It's the truth. I mean, Chatham, there's not that many airports on the Cape, and people had to have known they were here when they moved here. Any information as far back as I've been involved with the airport or going to any of the meetings, the information's always been available. It's not our job to handhold all of the public through all the information. This is, you know, it's out there. We can help them find it. You know, I hear a lot of people saying, well, I didn't know there were going to be jets coming in. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And then blame the commission and want to close down the airport. It's my own personal feeling. I think it's kind of disgusting to have a group of people say that they're for a safer airport when I believe they're for no airport. And they've dragged meetings out. They've delayed meetings. They've had picket lines. They've passed around false information. And I think the general public needs to really think about that it's cost the town tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not over yet. And it goes way beyond asking questions. I have a question about this. Could you answer me? You know, it's harassing and I think even bullying. And, you know, it's too bad that we can't find a way to try to recover some of that money that was censusly cost the town. I think we're moving forward pretty good now, and we have to continue to do so to have a smooth running airport that is a tremendous asset, not only to the Cape, but the Northeast. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Commissioner Wilcox.
Is my mic on?
Yes, it is.
I would like to state just in reference to what Mr. Owens or Commissioner Owens stated, I take offense to the fact that he said that there are people out there that should move, one, or that are not concerned about the safety of the airport, 2 or that are looking to close the airport 3. That is absolutely false. And I take offense with that comment, Commissioner Owens.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
Yes, I would like to, I'm not finished. Thank you, honey. Just give me a minute. I would like to remind both the commission and those in the public that the FAA does not approve a master plan. Once the chapters are submitted, they accept them as finalized. Matt Karen said, I believe, and this may not be a quote, that when I ask about can any of the already submitted draft chapters be amended, he said no, changes are not made unless there's an egregious problem. With that in mind, I would also like to remind both the commission and the public that there can be an extension to the final submission of the airport master plan that extends to 2022 6, I believe it's 13, 2022. And again, I had asked Commissioner not to process the last 2 chapters prior to this meeting because I think that the public needs to have more input. And I'm deeply, deeply disappointed that he rejected my request. Thank you.
Thank you. I have something to say, but I do have 2 more commissioners who want to come back again. This has to be very quick because we're working on 3 hours and 13 minutes. Mr. Galen, quickly.
No, I'm done.
You're done. Mr. Cortese, you done?
Just one quick one, and it's just addressing a question we had earlier that I felt was important. So I can't remember who mentioned 7 and 9, that we hadn't gone over 7 and 9, but this has been gone over, I believe. I'm gonna do some research, but I'll on the exact number, but I can poll any of the commissioners here several times, and we were just voting on the amendments after the public comment. Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to have I'm going to have a final comment here before we go. I've heard from all the commissioners, and I know that tonight was contentious. I make no apologies for that. The role of the Airport Commission has become extremely difficult over the last several years. I know there are people out there who do not approve of what we're doing, do not approve of the way we've processed the airport master plan. And I know that there are people who don't approve of the content of the master plan. However, as commissioner, I felt it was my duty to move forward, given the fact that we will be getting clarity in our information for the citizens of Chatham. Will be published on the website. We're working on that. We would have been a step ahead had we not had the complaint from the on the ethics issue that we had to stall on that. But we'll try to get information out there as quickly as possible. But I want to say that I appreciate the work of all the commissioners. We don't always agree with each other. We've had some arguments tonight, and that's healthy. And I think moving forward, things will go better. The citizens will have more information once the environmental assessment is done, more chance to debate, and more chance to take a look at the projects and see how that enhancement to the safety and security of the pilots in the air and the people on the ground will finally play out. And like I said, I make no apologies for the meeting tonight. It was a very difficult meeting. I knew we had to move forward. I apologize, though, if I did offend anyone. I don't like to do that. It's not my nature. And I think that, like I said, I'm proud of our commissioners and I'm proud of the job that we're doing. And I think it's going to get better as we move forward. And I just hope that the community will begin to start supporting us, as I've noticed from emails and things like that, that they are. And I know that we'll always have the people out there who oppose what we're doing. But that's part of the process. So that said, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote and the meeting will adjourn probably at about 8:18. Commissioner Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Cortese.
Yes.
Commissioner Donovan.
Yes.
Commissioner Galen.
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison. Yes. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you in February.
Have
Good night.